The slap cracked through Riverside Gardens like a whip. Sarah Chen's face snapped to the side, emerald silk rippling as Officer Marcus Blake's palm connected with her cheek. The sting spread hot, sharp, humiliating. Her vision blurred for a heartbeat, then cleared. Blake was grinning at his partner's chest, puffed, expecting tears. But Sarah wasn't crying. Her jaw tightened. Her hand steadied. Because Marcus Blake didn't know who he'd just touched. He didn't know she was FBI. He didn't know he'd just signed his own death warrant. Blake thought he'd won. He had no idea the war had just begun. Before we go further, smash that subscribe button right now. You need to see how this ends. Drop a comment with your city so I can see how far Sarah's fight travels, and I promise you'll want to stay until the very last second of this story. Sarah's heels struck the sidewalk in a steady rhythm. Click, click, click. Each step deliberate, confident. The kind of confidence that came from knowing exactly who you were and what you were worth. The emerald silk dress moved with her body catching afternoon sunlight that made the fabric shimmer like water. Everything about her screamed success, elegance, control. Everything about Riverside Gardens screamed keep out. The lawns were too perfect, the hedges cut with mathematical precision. The houses sat back from the street like fortresses, their windows reflecting nothing but their own importance. Old money. White money. The kind of neighborhood where a doorbell costs more than most people's monthly rent. Sarah felt eyes on her. Not just curious eyes. Hostile eyes. Curtains twitched in windows. A woman watering roses turned away. A man getting his mail stared openly, his face twisting into something ugly. She kept walking. This was day one. The house at the corner, sleek glass and steel minimalist architecture that probably offended every colonial revival sensibility on this street that was hers. Or rather, it belonged to Sarah Chen, risk management consultant, recent transplant from California. The cover identity the FBI had built for her over 6 months. Bank statements, credit history, social media presence, all of it real enough to pass scrutiny, real enough to get her inside this neighborhood where women of color didn't walk freely, real enough to investigate the pattern of harassment, financial crimes, and civil rights violations that had been reported then systematically buried for the past 3 years. The growl of an engine made her pause. Not stop, just a slight hitch in her stride. Her training kicked in automatically. Assess, catalog, prepare. Black Ford Explorer, police package, tinted windows, 3 occupants. Driver, large build, white male, late 30s. Passenger, a larger build, white male, early 40s. Backseat, younger, leaner, eager face pressed against the glass. The vehicle slowed. Rolled to the curb beside her. Sarah's pulse didn't spike. That was the thing about 15 years in the Bureau. Your body learned to stay calm while your brain went into overdrive. Threat assessment moderate to high. These weren't regular cops on patrol. This was intentional, targeted. The passenger window hummed down. Ma'am. The voice was gravel and authority mixed together. The kind of voice used to being obeyed. Sarah stopped, turned, kept her face neutral, pleasant. The face of a woman who had nothing to hide and no reason to fear the police. Officer Marcus Blake filled the window frame. Mid-40s. Granite jaw. Eyes hidden behind aviator sunglasses that reflected her own image back at her. His uniform was crisp, but his face was weathered, broken capillaries across his nose lines, around his mouth from years of sneering. "Can I help you, officer?" Blake didn't answer immediately. His eyes traveled. Started at her heels, Jimmy Choo real paid for with bureau funds. Moved up her legs. Lingered on the curve of her hips where the silk clung. Traced her waist, her chest, her throat. Finally reached her face. The entire inspection took maybe 5 seconds. Felt like 5 minutes. That depends. Blake's mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "You lost..." "No, sir, I live here." "You live here." He said it like he was tasting the words, testing them for truth. "In Riverside Gardens." "That's correct." The back door opened. A younger officer climbed out, late 20s, lean, hungry eyes. His nameplate read Walsh. He moved around behind Sarah, cutting off her retreat. Not subtle, not meant to be. The driver's door opened next. This one was massive. 6'3", easily 250, all of it muscle going to fat. His uniform strained across his chest and belly. Roberts, according to his nameplate, he positioned himself on Sarah's left. Blake was on her right, still in the vehicle. Triangle formation, basic intimidation tactic. Sarah had seen it in war zones. She'd seen it in cartel operations. She'd never seen it in an American suburb in broad daylight. "Which house?" Blake's voice cut through her tactical analysis. Sarah nodded toward the glass structure at the corner. "That one." Roberts laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was harsh, mocking. "That house, lady, do you know how much that property is worth?" I do. I wrote the check. You wrote the check. Blake removed his sunglasses. His eyes were pale blue, cold as winter. For a $3 million house. 2.8, actually. I negotiated. Walsh snickered behind her. She negotiated Sarge. What do you do for a living, ma'am? Blake's tone had shifted, still polite on the surface, venom underneath. I'm a consultant. A consultant. Blake exchanged a look with Roberts. Some silent communication passed between them. Years of partnership of shared corruption compressed into a single glance. Consulting in what? Risk management. Risk management. Blake's smile widened. That's interesting, because right now, you're looking at some serious risk. Walking around this neighborhood dressed like that, people might get the wrong idea. The insult was clear, even though he hadn't said the words directly. Sarah felt heat rise in her chest. Not fear, anger? The old familiar anger that had been her companion since she was 6 years old, and a teacher had asked if she was the janitor's daughter. Since she was 16 and a cop had pulled her over for driving suspiciously in her own neighborhood. Since she was 23 and a supervisor had suggested she'd only made it through the academy because of diversity quotas. That anger had fuel, but she couldn't let it burn. Not now. I'm not sure I understand what you're implying, Officer Blake. Oh, I think you understand perfectly. Blake opened his door, stepped out. He was tall, not as tall as Roberts, but solid, commanding. He moved into her space deliberately, forcing her to either back up or stand her ground. Sarah stood her ground. See, we know everyone in this neighborhood. Blake's coffee breath washed over her face. We protect them. We serve them. And when someone new shows up, someone who doesn't quite fit, we ask questions. I'm a resident. I moved in today. You got paperwork to prove that... Do I need to prove where I live to take a walk on a public sidewalk? Wrong answer. Sarah saw it in the way Blake's jaw tightened. The way Robert stepped closer. The way Walsh's hand drifted toward his belt. You know what I think. Blake's voice dropped lower, more intimate. I think you're visiting someone. I think the old man who owns that house finally traded in his wife for a newer model. Younger, prettier, more exotic. The word landed like a slap before his hand ever moved. Sarah's training screamed at her. De-escalate, stay calm, don't give them cause. She forced her voice to remain level. I'm not visiting anyone, that's my house. Now if you'll excuse me. She tried to step around Blake. Roberts shifted his bulk, blocking her path. His mass was a wall of meat and malice. Not so fast. Blake moved with her, maintaining that invasive closeness. We need to finish our conversation. I believe we're done. We're done when I say we're done. Blake's hand came up, not threatening, not yet, just resting near his holstered weapon. The implication was clear. A pretty thing like you dressed like that walking around this neighborhood in the middle of the day. It raises questions, makes people uncomfortable. The only person making me uncomfortable is you, Sergeant. Blake's smile vanished. Sergeant, you notice my rank. Good. That means you understand chain of command. Authority. So when I tell you we're having a conversation, you stand here and have a conversation. Sarah's fingers curled into fists. She forced them open, forced her breathing to stay even. This was a test. Everything was a test. Blake was pushing, seeing how far he could go, seeing if she'd break run or fight. She did none of those things. What do you want to know, Officer Blake? That's better. He stepped back slightly, giving her room to breathe. Let's start with basics. Where are you from? California. California, long way from home. What brought you here? A job opportunity. Doing what? I already told you. Risk management consulting. For which company, Chen? Sarah had the answer ready. The Bureau had created an entire consulting firm as her cover. Website client list office space in downtown. Chen and Associates. Never heard of it. Most people haven't. We handle private clients. Discreet work. Discreet. Blake tasted the word. I bet you do. Roberts laughed again. Walsh joined in. The sound was ugly knowing. They'd already decided who she was, what she was. No amount of truth would change their minds. This dress. Blake's hand moved, reached out. Sarah saw it coming but couldn't step back without looking scared. His fingers touched the silk at her shoulder. This is expensive fabric, real silk, Italian maybe? Get your hand off me. The words came out harder than she'd intended. Blake's hand froze. His eyes widened slightly. Surprise, then anger. Excuse me. I said get your hand off me. Sarah kept her voice steady but firm. You're touching me without my consent. That's assault. The temperature dropped. Roberts and Walsh stopped laughing. Blake's face went through several emotions, shock, rage, calculation. He pulled his hand back slowly, deliberately. Assault. He said the word like it was foreign. You think that was assault? I know what assault is, officer. Do you? Blake's voice went quiet. Dangerous. Let me tell you what assault looks like in my world. Assault is when someone resists a lawful order, when they get aggressive with a peace officer, when they create a public disturbance. I'm standing on a sidewalk having a conversation I didn't initiate. You're creating a disturbance in a residential neighborhood. You're dressed inappropriately. You're behaving suspiciously. Blake was building a narrative, creating cause. Sarah recognized the pattern. She'd seen it in dozens of cases. And when asked reasonable questions by law enforcement, you became hostile and aggressive. That's not true? That's what my officers will testify to. Blake glanced at Roberts and Walsh. Both nodded. Of course they did. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to turn around, put your hands behind your back, and we're going to continue this conversation downtown. Sarah's heart rate finally spiked. This was it, the moment where everything could go wrong. If she resisted, they'd escalate to violence. If she ran, they'd chase her down. If she complied, she'd be in their custody with no backup and no way out. But compliance was the only option that kept her undercover, the only option that let her see how deep this corruption ran. On what charge? Solicitation, loitering, disorderly conduct. Take your pick. Blake pulled handcuffs from his belt. The metal caught sunlight. Now turn around before I add resisting arrest to the list. Sarah's mind raced. The Bureau didn't know about this. Her check-in wasn't for another 48 hours. If she disappeared into their system, how long before anyone noticed? How long before anyone cared but she couldn't blow her cover? Not on day one, not before she understood the full scope of their operation. She turned around slowly, presented her back to Blake. Felt his hand grab her wrist, rough unnecessarily. Forceful. The metal cuff closed around her left wrist. Tight. Too tight. The steel bit into skin. Comfortable? Blake's breath was hot on her neck. It's too tight. Good. He grabbed her right wrist, twisted it behind her back. Pain shot up her arm, deliberate, designed to humiliate. The second cuff clicked shut. He gave them an extra tug, cinching them tighter. Sarah bit down on her tongue. Tasted copper. Swallowed the pain, the rage, the screaming voice in her head that wanted to fight back. She could break his nose, dislocate his elbow, put him on the ground in 3 moves. But then what? She'd be a fugitive. The investigation would be over. That's for being difficult. Blake's voice dripped satisfaction. Then his hand moved. Sarah felt it before she understood what was happening. His palm connected with her backside, not a pat, not an accident. A deliberate, open-handed slap that cracked through the quiet street like a gunshot. The silk dress did nothing to absorb the impact. The sting spread hot, sharp, violating. Time crystallized. Sarah felt every detail with brutal clarity. The heat of the sun on her face. The bite of metal on her wrists. The eyes watching from windows. The smirks on Roberts and Walsh's faces. The satisfaction in Blake's posture. And the absolute certainty that Marcus Blake had just made the last mistake of his career. That's for walking around like you own the place. Blake's voice was thick with triumph. He looked at his partners. Some people need to learn their place. Sarah turned her head slowly, met his eyes. Her face was calm, eerily calm, the kind of calm that came before hurricanes. You just assaulted a citizen. Assaulted, Blake laughed. That was a friendly pat, a welcome to the neighborhood. You should be thanking me. I want your badge number, all 3 of you. The laughter died. Blake's eyes narrowed. Badge number, sweetheart, you don't get to make demands. Not here, not ever. He grabbed her arm, started pulling her toward the SUV. Sarah didn't resist, didn't fight. Let him think he'd won. Let him feel powerful. Let him and his corrupt friends dig themselves deeper. Walsh opened the back door. The interior smelled wrong. A stale fast food chemical air freshener trying to mask sweat and fear. Sarah cataloged details automatically. Modified partition, no door handles on the inside, camera in the corner with black tape covering the lens. This wasn't a patrol vehicle. This was a mobile cage for people who disappeared. Blake shoved her inside. Sarah stumbled, caught herself. The plastic seat was cracked, uncomfortable. She positioned herself in the corner, giving herself the best view of both officers and the street. Roberts climbed into the driver's seat. Walsh took the back seat beside her, another protocol violation. You didn't put officers in back with cuffed prisoners. Too much risk, unless the risk was part of the point. Blake settled into the passenger seat, adjusted the rearview mirror. His eyes found Sarah's reflection. Comfortable back there, Sarah said nothing. Silent treatment, that's fine. Blake pulled out his phone, typed something. Just letting my brother know we're bringing in a guest. Your brother. Chief of Police, Richard Blake. He likes to be informed when we get interesting cases. Blake's smile returned. And you, Sarah Chen, are very interesting. The pieces clicked. The harassment complaints that had triggered the FBI investigation all dismissed by the chief's office. The financial irregularities, the pattern of abuse that stretched back years. It wasn't just a few bad cops, it was institutional, protected from the top. Robert started the engine. The SUV pulled away from the curb. Sarah watched her house disappear in the side mirror, watched Riverside Gardens fade behind them, watched the last chance for escape vanish. Where are you taking me? Headquarters. Blake still watched her in the mirror. Don't worry, we'll take good care of you. The drive took 17 minutes. Sarah counted every turn, memorized every street name. Old training from her time in military intelligence. Never stop gathering intel, even when you're captive, especially when you're captive. They entered an older part of town. The houses here were smaller, closer together, working class. The kind of neighborhood that saw police as occupiers, not protectors. The precinct was a squat brick building that looked like it had been built in the 70s and abandoned somewhere around 1985. The parking lot was cracked asphalt and faded lines. Only 4 vehicles, 3 patrol cars, and a personal truck. Roberts parked near the back entrance. Away from street view, away from cameras. Not an accident. Blake got out, opened Sarah's door. Welcome to Casa de Blake. Hope you like the accommodations? He pulled her out roughly. Her heels caught on the doorframe. She would have fallen if Walsh hadn't grabbed her other arm. Between the two of them, they hauled her toward the building like a duffel bag, not a person. Inside, the air was wrong. Thick. Heavy with the smell of burned coffee and decades of accumulated sweat, fear, and disinfectant that couldn't quite mask the rot underneath. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, that distinctive sound that meant the ballasts were dying. The linoleum was yellowed. Jib had cracked in places. This wasn't a modern police station. This was a relic. A throwback to an era when cops did whatever they wanted and nobody asked questions. A desk sergeant sat behind a raised counter reading a newspaper. He was maybe 60 overweight jowls hanging over his collar. His eyes barely flickered up as they entered. Got another one, Frank? His voice was pure boredom. Yep. Blake pushed Sarah forward. Soliciting up in Riverside, plus she got mouthy, disorderly conduct, maybe resisting. Name? Says she's Sarah Chen. I say Jane Doe until we verify. The desk sergeant finally looked at Sarah. His eyes did the same calculating scan Blake's had done, assessing, judging. Pretty one. The pretty ones are always trouble. That's why God invented holding cells. Blake unlocked one of her cuffs but left the other attached to her wrist. Empty your pockets. Sarah placed her clutch on the counter. Small, elegant, expensive. Inside was exactly what she wanted them to find: California driver's license under her cover name, 2 credit cards, high-end lipstick keys to the house. No phone. That had been deliberate. They always took phones. She needed other ways to communicate. The desk sergeant pawed through her belongings with latex-gloved hands that had probably never been cleaned. He held up the license. California, long way from home. That's what we told her. Blake leaned against the counter. She claims she bought the Whitmore house. The glass one on the corner. That place. The sergeant whistled. What did that go for, $3 million or 2.8? Blake's voice dripped sarcasm. She negotiated. On a consultant's salary. Roberts had been quiet until now. Risk management, she says. Risk management. The sergeant chuckled. It was an ugly sound. She's definitely managing some risks right now. A door behind the desk opened. Sarah felt the shift in atmosphere immediately. Blake straightened. Roberts pulled his shoulders back. Even Walsh, young and stupid, sensed the change. Chief Richard Blake entered Vakarius Abidst like he owned the world. Because in this building, he did. Late 40s, silver at his temples, uniform pressed so crisp it could cut. His face was harder than Marcus Blake's, carved from the same genetic material, but aged by authority and calculation. He moved with absolute confidence. The walk of a man who'd never been told no. Franklin. The chief's voice was soft, controlled, more dangerous than his brother's bluster. What do we have? Solicitation complaint from Riverside Gardens. Resisted verbal commands. Got aggressive when questioned. Marcus Blake was lying smoothly, building his false narrative. I'm thinking she's part of something larger. High-end operation. The chief's pale eyes settled on Sarah. The examination was clinical. Cold. He picked up her driver's license, studied it. Sarah Chen, California. What brings you to our community, Ms. Chen? I bought a house. The Whitmore property. It wasn't a question. That's a very expensive piece of real estate. What do you do for a living? I already answered these questions. Answer them again, for me. The chief's voice never rose. Didn't need to. What do you do? Sarah met his eyes, held his gaze. I'm a risk management consultant. For which firm? Chen and Associates. Never heard of it. Most people haven't. The chief smiled. It was a thin, cold expression that never touched his eyes. Risk management, how appropriate. Because right now, Ms. Chen, you're looking at significant risk. Solicitation is a misdemeanor. But if you're part of an organized operation that becomes a felony, interstate commerce violations, federal charges. The irony wasn't lost on Sarah. He was threatening her with federal prosecution while committing federal civil rights violations. The audacity was breathtaking. I wasn't soliciting anything. That's not what my officers report, and I trust my officers. The chief handed her license back to the desk sergeant. Booker, full processing, and Marcus be thorough, very thorough. It was an order, a signal. Sarah saw the look that passed between brothers. Years of shared corruption compressed into a single glance. Yes, sir. Marcus Blake grabbed Sarah's arm. This way. They led her through a narrow hallway. The walls were painted institutional green, the color of prisons and mental hospitals. The floor was concrete cracked and stained, with substances Sarah didn't want to identify. Doors lined both sides. Most were closed. Behind one, someone was crying. Behind another, voices argued in Spanish. The holding cells were at the end. 6 small cages with metal benches bolted to the floor and stainless steel toilets with no seats. One was occupied a man sleeping off what looked like a 3-day bender curled on the bench in his own filth. Marcus Blake opened the second cell. The bars screeched metal on metal, deliberately unmaintained. The sound set Sarah's teeth on edge. You're sweet, madam. Blake's voice dripped mockery. He shoved her inside. Sarah stumbled but caught herself. The concrete floor was cold even through her heels. The bench was just a slab of metal, no padding, no comfort, designed to make you miserable. The barred door slammed shut. The lock clicked with brutal finality. How long are you keeping me? Long as we want. Blake pulled out a form, made a show of filling it out with a pen that barely worked. Processing takes time. Background checks take time. Could be tomorrow morning. Could be longer if we find discrepancies. I'm entitled to a phone call. You'll get one when we get around to it, but the phone system is kind of unreliable, especially on weekends. Blake's smile was all teeth. Funny how that works. Roberts laughed. Walsh joined in. The sound echoed off concrete, became something inhuman. You wanted to live in Riverside Gardens. Blake folded the form, pocketed it. Congratulations. You got our full attention now. Hope it was worth it. They walked away. Their laughter faded. A door slammed. Then silence. Sarah stood in the center of the cell for a long moment. Let the reality settle. She was alone. Truly alone. In the custody of corrupt cops with no witnesses and no backup. The rage she'd been suppressing surged up hot, visceral, demanding release. She let herself feel it for exactly 10 seconds. Let it burn through her system. Then she forced it down. Compartmentalized it. Locked it away. Rage was useless. Planning was everything. She sat on the metal bench. The cold seeped through silk. She closed her eyes. Started the breathing exercises they'd taught her at the academy. 4 counts in. Hold for 7. 8 counts out. Repeat. The FBI's answer to meditation. Her mind cleared. Started cataloging. She'd been in worse situations. Venezuela working undercover with the cartels. Afghanistan extracting an asset while under fire. Moscow trapped in a hotel room with FSB agents in the hallway. This was different, though. This was domestic. This was supposed to be safe. These were supposed to be the good guys. But there were no good guys here. Just predators in uniforms. An hour passed, maybe 2. Time moved strangely in concrete boxes. The light from the high window shifted from gold to amber. Sarah used the time to think to plan. Her backup protocol wouldn't trigger for 48 hours. Anything could happen in 48 hours. She needed to communicate. But how? Footsteps approached. Light, hesitant. Not Blake's confident stride or Roberts's heavy tread. Someone smaller. Nervous? A young female officer appeared. Early 20s, soft face, scared eyes. Her nameplate read Rodriguez. She carried a paper cup, cheap white styrofoam, the kind that tasted like chemicals. Water. She pushed it through the slot without making eye contact. Thought you might be thirsty. Sarah stood, moved to the bars, took the cup carefully. Their fingers brushed. Rodriguez's hand was trembling. Thank you, Officer Rodriguez. Emma, just Emma. The young officer glanced down the hallway nervously, like she was doing something forbidden. I'm sorry. For what? For, Emma's voice caught. For what they did. Out there. On the street. That wasn't right? What Blake did? The way he touched you? That wasn't right? Sarah said nothing. Let the silence draw Emma in. Let her fill it. They do things like that. The words tumbled out in a rush. They call it maintaining standards, keeping property values up, keeping the wrong people out. But it's not right. I know it's not right. Then why don't you report it? Report it to who? Emma's voice rose slightly, then dropped back to a whisper. Internal Affairs goes through the chief's desk. The mayor plays golf with Richard Blake every Sunday. The county sheriff went to high school with him. There's no one to report to. There's always someone. Not here. Emma shook her head. Tears threatened at the corners of her eyes. I thought when I joined the force I'd be helping people, making a difference, but this isn't what I signed up for. Sarah moved closer, kept her voice low, gentle, non-threatening. You can still help people, Emma. You can help me. I can't. If Blake found out... Emma's face went pale. He'd destroy me. I've seen him do it. I've seen him plant drugs in officers' lockers. Seen him fabricate complaints. End careers. I'm not asking you to testify. I'm not asking you to file a report. Sarah held Emma's gaze. I just need one thing, and I promise, I swear to you, no one will ever know where I got it. Emma stared at her. The internal war played across her young face. Fear versus conscience. Self-preservation versus doing the right thing. What do you need? A phone, a burner, nothing traceable, just for one call. Sarah kept her voice steady, persuasive. Leave it in the women's bathroom. Trash can. I'll get myself moved there within an hour. If they catch me, they won't. I'll protect you. How? Because protecting people is what I do, Emma. Sarah let some truth seep into her voice. More than you know. Trust me. One phone, one call. You'll save lives. Emma looked down the hallway again, looked back at Sarah. The woman in the emerald dress, bruised but unbroken. There was something about her, something that didn't match the story Blake was telling. Something strong, certain. 30 minutes, Emma's voice was barely audible. Women's bathroom, trash can by the sink. Thank you. Emma walked away quickly. Her footsteps faded. Sarah sat back down on the metal bench. Her heart was pounding now. This was it. The risk? If Emma lost her nerve, if she got caught, if Blake suspected anything, the whole operation collapsed. But Sarah didn't have a choice. She was in open water, with sharks circling. She needed a lifeline. She waited exactly 28 minutes. Then started the performance, doubled over on the bench, clutched her stomach, let out a low, convincing moan. The sound echoed off concrete, amplified by the empty cells. Nothing. She moaned louder, added a retch for effect, the sound of someone about to be violently ill. The intercom crackled. What's your problem? The desk sergeant's voice. Annoyed. Stomach cramps. Bad. Sarah gasped between words. I need a bathroom. Real one. I'm going to be sick. Long silence. Then a heavy sigh. Rodriguez, take the new intake to the bathroom. Watch her. Emma appeared 2 minutes later. Her face was professionally blank, but her eyes conveyed urgency. She unlocked the cell. Come on, make it quick. The women's bathroom was small. 2 stalls, single sink, industrial mirrors bolted to the wall. The smell of harsh bleach barely masked decades of less pleasant odors. Emma checked the stalls methodically, looked under the sink, ran her hand along the top of the toilet tanks. I'll be right outside. Emma's voice was loud enough to carry, loud enough for anyone listening. "You've got 5 minutes." The door clicked shut. Sarah moved immediately. Trash can by the sink. She pulled out the plastic liner, there taped to the bottom of the can. A cheap prepaid phone, fully charged. Battery at 100%. Emma had come through. Sarah dialed from memory. The number was burned into her brain. Had been since her first day at Quantico. Direct line to Deputy Director Marcus Harrison, her mentor. The man who'd recruited her out of military intelligence. Who'd pushed her through every promotion. Who'd personally assigned her to this investigation. If anyone could mobilize resources quickly, it was Harrison. 2 rings. Harrison? His voice was exactly as she remembered. Gravelly, impatient, always busy, always irritated at interruptions. "Director, it's Agent Chen. Code Sierra 9. I'm compromised." Silence. Not the good kind. The kind where you could hear someone thinking, calculating. "Chen?" Harrison's voice changed. "Your check-in was this morning. You reported all clear." "Situation escalated rapidly. I've been unlawfully detained by local PD, 3 officers led by Sergeant Marcus Blake. It's systemic, sir. The chief of police is his brother, Richard Blake. They're running this precinct like a criminal enterprise." The words poured out, professional, concise. "I have evidence of assault battery, false arrest, conspiracy. Where are you now?" "Riverside Gardens precinct, holding cell. They fabricated charges, solicitation, disorderly conduct. Sir, we need to move on this immediately. Civil Rights Division, federal prosecutors, the full weight." "Agent Chen?" Harrison's voice cut through her urgency like a knife. "Listen very carefully." The tone made Sarah's blood run cold. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. "You are to stand down. That is a direct order." Sarah's world tilted. "Sir, I don't understand." "The Blake family has connections that extend well beyond this jurisdiction. Way beyond my authority. Certainly beyond yours." Harrison's words were measured. Careful. "I received a call from Chief Blake approximately 30 minutes ago. As a professional courtesy, he informed me that one of my agents was causing significant problems in his community." No. He expressed concern about your mental state, Chen. Mentioned that you have a history of making unfounded accusations, that you've been unstable since your last evaluation." "That's a lie," Sarah's voice shook. "You know my record. Your record is irrelevant if I can't trust your judgment." Harrison's voice was flat, bureaucratic, the voice of a man covering his ass. "Blake is building a narrative, and right now, frankly, he has more credibility than you do. He assaulted me, in public, in front of witnesses. Did he or did he use reasonable force to detain a suspect who was behaving erratically?" Harrison sighed. It was the sound of a man tired of dealing with problems. "Do you understand the political situation here, Chen Do? You have any idea who the Blake family is connected to state senators, federal judges, people who can end careers with a phone call? So we just let them operate, let them abuse people, we pick our battles, and this is not a battle we can win." Harrison's voice dropped lower. "Final. My official recommendation is that you accept the disorderly conduct charge. Plead it out, serve whatever minimal time they give you, then walk away and never look back. And if I don't, then you're on your own, completely. I will not authorize Bureau resources for this. I will not risk my entire career for what amounts to a local misunderstanding. If you push this Agent Chen, they will bury you, and I will not be there to dig you out." The words hung in the air. Sarah gripped the phone so hard her knuckles went white. "Do you understand me, Agent Chen?" "I understand perfectly, sir." Sarah's voice was hollow. Dead. "Thank you for clarifying your position." "It's not personal, Chen. It's political. Learn the difference." The line went dead. Sarah stared at the phone in her hand. The cheap plastic suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Her mentor. The man she'd trusted with her life. The man who'd convinced her the Bureau stood for something. He'd just sold her out to protect his career. The betrayal was absolute. Complete. It hollowed her out from the inside. A knock on the door. "Chen, you okay in there?" Sarah shoved the phone back under the trash can liner, splashed cold water on her face. Her reflection in the mirror looked back, makeup-smudged eyes, haunted emerald silk, wrinkled and stained. She looked like what Blake wanted the world to see. A woman broken, defeated. She forced her spine straight, lifted her chin. The woman in the mirror changed. Still hurt. Still angry. But not broken. Never broken. "I'm fine?" Sarah opened the door. Emma's eyes searched her face. Saw the devastation there. "Did you Sarah gave the tiniest shake of her head. Not here. Not now. Emma understood, stepped back, became professional again. Let's go. They walked back through the institutional green hallway, but when they rounded the corner, Marcus Blake was waiting, leaning against the bars of Sarah's cell, grinning like a hyena that had just cornered wounded prey. He held up his phone. Just got off the phone with your boss. Blake's voice dripped satisfaction. Pure malicious satisfaction. Deputy Director Marcus Harrison, real understanding guy, very concerned about you. Sarah's stomach dropped. Told me all about your history, your problems, your tendency to make false accusations. Blake pushed off from the bars, sauntered closer. Said I should handle this situation locally, take my time, be thorough. Emma unlocked the cell. Sarah walked in on autopilot. The bars clanged shut behind her. Looks like nobody's coming to save you, Agent Chen. Blake's smile widened. Because that's what you are, right, FBI? Did you really think we wouldn't figure it out? Sarah's blood turned to ice. Oh yeah, we know. Chief made some calls, had some interesting conversations. Blake leaned close to the bars. His breath smelled like coffee and cruelty. You're not in the FBI's house anymore, sweetheart. You're in mine. And in my house, federal agents disappear, just like everyone else who causes problems. He walked away. His laughter echoed down the hallway, faded. A door slammed. Silence. Sarah stood in the center of the cell. The concrete walls pressed in. The metal bench gleamed dull in the fluorescent light. The toilet smelled like chemicals and despair. She was alone. Truly alone. Betrayed by her agency. Trapped by corrupt cops. Facing charges she couldn't fight. Possibly facing worse than charges. The woman in the emerald silk dress sat down on the cold metal bench. And for the first time in 15 years, Special Agent Sarah Chen wondered if she was going to survive the night. The cell was cold, not just temperature cold. Soul cold. The kind of cold that seeped through emerald silk and settled in your bones. Sarah sat on the metal bench and forced herself to think. Blake knew. The chief knew. They'd called Harrison. Which meant they had connections deeper than she'd imagined. Which meant she was more valuable as a corpse than a witness. The math was simple. Brutal. They couldn't let her walk. She needed to think like they did. Predators. Calculating. What would they do next? Keep her isolated. Let fear work on her. Maybe rough her up a bit. Then the transfer to county jail. Except she'd never make it to county. There'd be an accident. A struggle. She tried to grab a weapon. Tragic but necessary use of force. Clean, simple. Happened every day in America. Sarah stood. Paced the small space. 5 steps, one direction. 5 steps back. Her heels clicked on concrete. The sound was too loud in the silence. She slipped them off. Better. Quieter. She examined every inch of the cell. The bars were solid. Old but maintained. The lock was mechanical, not electronic. Harder to pick, but not impossible. The bench was bolted down. The toilet was stainless steel, no removable parts. The walls were concrete block. The ceiling was too high to reach. No obvious weapons, no obvious exits. Just a cage designed to hold people who'd given up hope. Sarah wasn't there yet. Time passed. Hard to measure. The window showed darkening sky. Maybe 7 o'clock, maybe 8. Her internal clock was off, disrupted by adrenaline and fear. She did the breathing exercises again. 4 in, 7 hold, 8 out. Her heart rate slowed. Her mind cleared. The transmitter. She still had the transmitter sewn into her dress. The panic button. 1 click would send her GPS coordinates and a distress signal to FBI headquarters. Tactical teams would roll. Helicopters would launch. The cavalry would arrive. Except Harrison controlled the cavalry, and Harrison had made his position clear. If she activated the transmitter, who would respond friends or a cleanup crew? She couldn't risk it. Not yet. Footsteps in the hallway. Heavy. Multiple people. Sarah moved to the back corner of the cell. Gave herself maximum distance and reaction time. Marcus Blake appeared. Behind him, Roberts and Walsh. All 3 looked different now. Relaxed. Like they'd been drinking. Celebrating. Evening, Agent Chen? Blake's words slurred slightly. How's the accommodation? Sarah said nothing. Silent treatment again. Blake pulled keys from his belt. That's okay. We came to have a different kind of conversation. He unlocked the cell. The screech of metal set Sarah's teeth on edge. All 3 men entered. Roberts closed the door behind them, but didn't lock it. They weren't worried about her escaping. 3 armed men against 1 woman in a dress. The arrogance would be their mistake. Here's the situation. Blake sat on the bench, made himself comfortable. We know who you are, we know why you're here, and we know your own people don't want you anymore. So what do you want, information? Blake smiled. Who else knows about your investigation? What evidence have you collected? Where is it stored? Who's your local contact? I want a lawyer. Blake laughed. A lawyer? Sure. We'll get you a lawyer right after you answer some questions. I'm not answering anything without counsel present. See, that's where you're confused. Robert stepped closer. His bulk blocked the cell door. You're not under arrest anymore. You're in protective custody, for your own safety. Protective custody? That's right. Blake stood. We got word there's a threat against you. Credible threat. So we're keeping you here. Safe. Until we can sort it out. The lie was transparent. Absurd. But it didn't need to be believable. It just needed to be official. Paperwork that justified her disappearance. What threat? Can't disclose that. Ongoing investigation. Blake moved closer. His eyes were cold now. The alcohol hadn't made him sloppy, just mean. But we can make this easier on everyone. You tell us what we need to know. We make sure you get transferred somewhere safe. Somewhere far from here, new identity, fresh start. You mean somewhere I disappear? Disappear is such a harsh word. Blake was close now, inches away. I prefer relocated. Protected witness. Happens all the time. Sarah met his eyes. I don't believe you. Don't have to believe me, just have to cooperate. Blake's hand moved, faster than she expected, grabbed her wrist, twisted. Pain shot up her arm. Or we can do this the hard way. Sarah moved on instinct, yanked her arm back, used his grip against him, pulled him off balance. Her other hand came up, palm strike toward his nose. Roberts caught her arm mid-swing. His grip was iron. Walsh grabbed her other arm. Between them, they slammed her against the concrete wall. Her head cracked against block. Stars exploded in her vision. Hard way it is. Blake's voice was distant, echoing. Shame. I was hoping you'd be smart. Sarah's vision cleared. All three men stood in front of her now. Spread out. Professional spacing. They'd done this before. Many times before. Last chance, Agent Chen. Blake's voice was reasonable. Calm. More terrifying than shouting. Who knows about the investigation? Go to hell. Blake nodded to Roberts. The big man's fist came fast, drove into Sarah's stomach. Air exploded from her lungs. She doubled over. Would have fallen if Walsh wasn't holding her up. Who knows, Blake again, patient like he had all night. Sarah couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Her diaphragm was spasming. Panic clawed at her throat. Cat got your tongue. Blake grabbed her hair, yanked her head back. Let me explain how this works. You answer questions. We stop hurting you. Simple transaction. Sarah forced air into her lungs, forced words out. I want my lawyer. Wrong answer. Blake nodded again. This time Roberts hit her face. Not full force, controlled, professional, enough to hurt. Not enough to leave permanent damage. The taste of copper filled her mouth. Blood from a split lip. We can do this all night. Blake's breath was hot on her face. Or you can make it stop. Your choice. Sarah spit blood. It splattered on Blake's uniform shirt. He looked down at it, looked back at her. His smile was gone. You just made a mistake. Blake wiped the blood away. A big one. He hit her himself this time. Closed fist. No control. Just rage. Sarah's head snapped to the side. The world went fuzzy, distant. She heard Blake's voice but couldn't process the words. Felt hands on her. Rough, violent. Felt herself falling. Felt concrete against her cheek. Then nothing. When Sarah opened her eyes, she was alone. The cell was dark. Night had fallen completely. She was on the floor. Her face throbbed. Her ribs screamed. Every breath hurt. She did an inventory. Moved fingers, toes, arms, legs. Everything worked. Painful but functional. No broken bones. They'd been careful. Professional. This wasn't their first time beating a prisoner. Sarah pushed herself up. Slowly. The room spun. She waited for it to stabilize. Crawled to the bench. Used it to pull herself upright. Sat. Breathed. The transmitter. She reached for the hem of her dress. Found the small bump. Still there. Still intact. One press would bring help. Maybe. If Harrison didn't intercept it. If the response team wasn't compromised. If, too many ifs. Footsteps again, different this time, light, quick, scared. Emma Rodriguez appeared. Her face was pale, shocked. She was carrying a first aid kit. Oh my God. It's fine. Sarah's voice was thick. Her lip was swelling. It's not fine. Emma unlocked the cell, came inside. Let me see. Emma, don't. If they catch you. They're gone, all 3 of them. Went to some bar to celebrate. Emma's hands were shaking as she opened the kit. Hold still? She cleaned Sarah's face with alcohol wipes. The sting was sharp, but Sarah didn't flinch. Emma worked quickly, applied butterfly bandages to the cut on Sarah's cheek, checked her pupils for concussion. You need a hospital. I need out of here. I can't. Emma, listen to me. Sarah grabbed the young officer's wrist. They're going to kill me. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, but it's coming. You know it is. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. You help me get out. You testify about what you've seen. You become the hero in this story instead of another victim. Sarah squeezed her wrist. You're better than them. Be better. Emma stared at her for a long moment. The internal war played out in real time. Fear, duty, conscience, self-preservation. I can't get you out. Emma's voice cracked. But I can get you something. What? A weapon. Something small. Something they won't find in a pat-down. Emma wiped her eyes. There's a transfer in the morning. Blake's driving. Robert's riding shotgun. They're taking back roads. No cameras. No witnesses. How do you know? I heard them planning it. Laughing about it. Emma's jaw clenched. They're going to say you tried to escape. That you grabbed for a gun. That they had no choice. Sarah nodded. The scenario she'd predicted. Classic. Effective. Happened every day. What can you get me? There's a pocket knife in my locker. Small. 2-inch blade. It's not much. It's enough. Sarah released Emma's wrist. Where do I hide it? I don't know. Somewhere they won't look. Emma stood. I have to go. They'll be back soon. Emma, thank you. The young officer paused at the cell door. I should have done something sooner. Before it got this far. I'm sorry. You're doing something now. That's what matters. Emma locked the cell, disappeared into the shadows. Sarah leaned back against the concrete wall. A pocket knife wasn't much. Against 3 armed men, it was almost nothing, but almost nothing was better than nothing at all. She closed her eyes, focused, ran through scenarios. If she got one hand free in the car, if she could reach the knife, if she could get to Blake before Roberts reacted. 3 seconds, maybe 4, that's all she'd have. One chance. Either she killed Blake fast enough to create chaos, or she died trying. The math wasn't good, but it was the only math available. Time crawled. Sarah dozed in snatches. Each time footsteps approached, she woke. Each time they passed by. Hours bled together. The night became an endless waiting game. Around 3 a.m, Emma returned. She moved like a ghost, silent, terrified. She unlocked the cell without a word. Pressed something cold into Sarah's hand. The pocket knife. Small. Old. But the blade was sharp. Where do I hide it? Emma's eyes dropped. You're in your bra? Side clasp. They won't pat you down there, too worried about lawsuits. Smart. These men would beat a woman unconscious, but they were terrified of sexual harassment claims. The irony was bitter. Sarah secured the knife. The metal was cold against her skin. Emma locked the cell again, started to leave. Emma! The young officer stopped. Whatever happens tomorrow, you did the right thing. Emma's throat worked. She nodded once. Then she was gone. Sarah didn't sleep after that. Couldn't. She sat on the bench and waited for dawn. Ran through the plan again and again. Visualized every movement. Blake would sit passenger side. Roberts would drive. That put Blake closest to her. Good. He was the primary target. Take him out, grab his weapon, put 2 rounds through the partition into Roberts. Then deal with Walsh if he was in the vehicle. Simple. Clean. Except nothing was ever simple or clean. When bullets started flying, the window slowly lightened. Gray dawn, the worst time of day, the time when hope was just a memory and the new day felt like a threat. Footsteps. Multiple people. Here we go. Marcus Blake appeared. He looked rough, hungover, mean. Behind him, Roberts and Walsh. Both looked worse than Blake. They'd been drinking hard. Good. Alcohol slowed reflexes. made people sloppy. Morning sunshine. Blake unlocked the cell. Time to go. Where? County facility, proper arraignment, due process. Blake grabbed her arm. All very legal and official. Sarah didn't resist. Let them cuff her hands in front this time. Better. She could work with front cuffs. They walked her through the precinct. The desk sergeant was gone. The building was empty, just the four of them. Also good. No witnesses worked both ways. The SUV was parked out back. Same vehicle from yesterday. Roberts got behind the wheel. Blake opened the back door. Sarah climbed in. Walsh slid in beside her. Blake took the passenger seat. The engine roared to life. They pulled out of the lot, headed east, away from the city, toward empty country roads where screams didn't carry and bodies disappeared into quarries. Sarah counted minutes, memorized the route, watched for the moment. Not yet. Wait for the right stretch of road. Wait for them to relax. Let them think she was defeated. You know what I don't understand, Blake said suddenly. He was talking to Roberts, but loud enough for Sarah to hear. How someone so smart can be so stupid. What do you mean? Roberts' eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. Agent Chen here. FBI. Smart woman. Trained. Experienced. But she comes into our town thinking she can take us down. Blake shook his head. Didn't do her homework. Didn't check connections. Just walked in blind. Pride comes before the fall, Walsh offered. He was sitting too close to Sarah. His thigh pressed against hers. Exactly. Blake turned in his seat, looked at Sarah. You want to know what the real joke is? Your whole investigation. It was bullshit from the start. Sarah kept her face blank. How so? We knew you were coming. Blake's smile was cruel. Harrison? Your mentor. He told us, 6 months ago, gave us your cover identity, your background, everything. We've been waiting for you, Agent Chen. This whole thing was a setup. The words hit like a physical blow. 6 months. Harrison had been feeding them information for 6 months, before she'd even started building her cover identity. The betrayal went deeper than she'd imagined. Why? Sarah's voice was hollow. Why? Blake laughed. Money, power, the usual reasons. Harrison's been on our payroll for 3 years. He feeds us information about FBI investigations. We make sure those investigations go nowhere. Everybody wins. Except people like you who don't know when to quit. Sarah's mind raced. If Harrison was compromised for 3 years, how many other investigations had been sabotaged? How many other agents had been burned? How deep did the corruption go? You're lying. Am I? Blake pulled out his phone, scrolled through messages, turned it so Sarah could see. Text conversations between Blake and a contact saved as Eagle. Eagle was Harrison's FBI code name. The messages were detailed, specific, undeniable. We own him. Blake pocketed the phone. And through him we own you. The vehicle slowed. Sarah looked out the window. They were on a narrow road now. Trees pressed close on both sides. No houses, no other cars. This was it. The killing ground. Roberts pulled onto a dirt track, barely visible through overgrown brush. The SUV bounced over ruts. Branches scraped the sides. They drove for maybe 2 minutes, stopped in a small clearing. Silence. Just engine tick and bird calls. End of the line. Blake opened his door, stepped out, stretched. Pretty spot. Peaceful. Good place for final thoughts. Roberts and Walsh got out. Walsh opened Sarah's door. Come on. Sarah climbed out slowly. Her hands were still cuffed. The knife was a cold pressure against her ribs. Not yet. Wait for the moment. They were in a natural depression. Trees on all sides. The ground was soft, recently disturbed. Sarah's stomach turned. This wasn't the first time they'd used this spot. How many bodies were buried here? How many people had disappeared into this quiet clearing, on your knees? Blake's voice was cold now. Professional. The performance was over. No? Excuse me. I said no. Sarah met his eyes. You want to kill me? You do it while I'm standing. Blake studied her. Something like respect flickered in his expression. Tough to the end. I can respect that. Walsh put her down. Walsh moved behind Sarah. She heard the slide of his weapon being drawn, felt the muzzle press against the back of her head. Cold. Final. This was it. The moment. Now or never. Sarah dropped. Fast. The gun discharged. The bullet passed through the space where her head had been. The sound was enormous, deafening. She twisted, brought her cuffed hands up. The chain caught Walsh's wrist. She yanked hard. He stumbled forward, off balance. Sarah's hand went to her bra, found the knife, flicked it open with her thumb, drove it up and into Walsh's armpit. The blade was small, but it found the artery. Hot blood sprayed. Walsh screamed. Fell back. The gun dropped. Sarah grabbed it. Rolled. Came up firing. 2 rounds at Roberts. One caught him in the shoulder. He went down. The second missed. Buried itself in a tree. Blake was already moving. His weapon was out. Trained on her. Drop it. Sarah didn't drop it. Fired. Blake fired. The world exploded into sound and motion and adrenaline. Pain erupted in Sarah's left shoulder. She'd been hit. Didn't matter. She fired again. Again. Pulled the trigger until the slide locked back. Empty. Blake was down. On his back. Red bloom spreading across his uniform shirt. 3 hits. Center mass. His eyes were wide. Shocked. The gun fell from his hand. Sarah stumbled. Her shoulder was on fire. Her vision swam. She looked down. Blood soaked the emerald silk. Lots of blood. Too much blood. Roberts was getting up, reaching for his weapon with his good hand. Sarah kicked it away, kicked him in the face. He went down again, stayed down. Walsh was on the ground, not moving. The blood pool around him was massive. Too much blood there, too. He was gone. Blake was gasping, trying to speak. Blood bubbled on his lips. You're? FBI. Sarah stood over him. I'm FBI, and you just made the last mistake of your life. Blake's eyes went flat, empty. The gasping stopped. Sarah stumbled to the SUV. Her vision was going gray at the edges. Shock, blood loss. She needed to move fast. She climbed into the driver's seat. The keys were still in the ignition. She started the engine, put it in reverse. Her left arm wouldn't work. Gunshot wound. The bullet had gone through, in and out. Lucky, if you could call it that. She backed out of the clearing, hit the main road. Her phone. She needed a phone. Blake's phone. She'd seen it. She turned around, drove back into the clearing. Blake was still there, still dead. She went through his pockets with one hand, found the phone, unlocked with his thumb. Dead men's fingerprints still worked. She scrolled through contacts. Found Eagle. Harrison. She typed a message with shaking fingers. Blake is dead. Roberts wounded. Walsh dead. I'm coming for you, and I'm bringing everything. She attached the text conversation screenshots. All of them. Every message between Harrison and Blake going back 3 years. Evidence of conspiracy. Evidence of corruption at the highest levels of the FBI. Then she forwarded it to everyone in Blake's contact list. The mayor, the governor, the state police commander, every reporter in his phone, every federal prosecutor. Dozens of people. Maybe hundreds. The messages went out one by one. The blue delivered notifications appeared. Sarah dropped the phone, put the SUV in drive, started driving. She didn't know where. Away. That was enough for now. Away from the clearing. Away from the bodies. Away from the nightmare. Her vision was fading. The blood loss was catching up. She needed a hospital. But hospitals meant police. Police meant questions. Questions meant Chief Blake would finish what his brother started. No hospitals. Not yet. She drove, kept driving. The road blurred. Trees became shadows. Shadows became darkness. Sarah's head dropped. The SUV drifted. Crossed the center line. A horn blared. Sarah jerked awake. Corrected? She was going to crash, going to die in a ditch somewhere. A sign appeared. Rest area, 2 miles. She could make 2 miles. Maybe. The rest area was empty. Just a bathroom building and some picnic tables. Sarah parked in the far corner. Out of sight, her hands wouldn't work right. Clumsy, numb. She reached into her dress, found the transmitter, the panic button, pressed it. The device beeped once. Signal sent. GPS coordinates transmitted. Help was coming. Maybe the right kind, maybe the wrong kind. But she was out of options. Sarah leaned back in the seat. The morning sun was rising, golden light through the trees. It was beautiful. Strange that she noticed that now. At the end? Or maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe it was something else. Her eyes closed. Somewhere in the distance, sirens began to wail. The sirens grew louder. Sarah forced her eyes open. Her shoulder was numb now. Bad sign. Shock was setting in deep. She tried to move her left arm. Nothing. Dead weight hanging from her body. The first vehicle that pulled into the rest area wasn't local police. It was a black Suburban with tinted windows. Federal plates. Sarah's heart hammered. FBI or cleanup crew. She reached for Walsh's gun with her right hand. Found it on the passenger seat. Checked the magazine. 3 rounds left. Not enough, but better than nothing. The Suburban stopped 20 feet away. Doors opened. 2 men stepped out. Tactical gear. No visible agency markings. They moved like operators. Military bearing. Weapons ready but not raised. The passenger side man approached slowly, hands visible. Agent Chen, I'm Agent Marcus Webb, hostage rescue team. We're here to extract you. Prove it. Sarah's voice was weak, slurred. Webb reached slowly into his vest, pulled out credentials, held them up. Sarah's vision was too blurred to read them properly. Could be real, could be fake. She kept the gun pointed at him. How did you find me? Your panic signal. It bypassed regional command, went straight to HRT duty desk. Webb took another step. Agent Chen, you're losing blood. We need to get you medical attention now. Harrison, Deputy Director Harrison, he's compromised. We know. Webb's voice was steady, calm. The messages you sent from Blake's phone, they hit every news desk in the region. Harrison's already in custody. FBI headquarters is in full lockdown. Internal Affairs is running the show now. Sarah's grip on the gun weakened. Chief Blake? State Police picked him up an hour ago. He tried to run, didn't make it far. Webb gestured to his partner. We need to move you. There's a trauma surgeon waiting at a secure location, not a hospital, somewhere safe. How do I know you're real? Webb pulled out his phone, pulled up a video call. The face that appeared was Assistant Director Catherine Morrison. Sarah recognized her. Hard woman. Reputation for breaking corrupt agents. If anyone was clean, it was Morrison. Agent Chen? Morrison's voice came through tinny but clear. Stand down. Webb is one of mine. You're safe now. Sarah's hand dropped. The gun fell from her fingers. Webb was beside her in seconds. His partner brought a medical kit. They worked fast. Pressure bandage on the shoulder, IV in her good arm, fluids pushing into her system. Blake? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Dead. You got him 3 times. Center mass. Webb's hands were gentle as he secured the bandage. Roberts is in custody, singing like a canary. Walsh didn't make it. Good. Agent Chen, how many rounds did you fire? All of them. Why? Webb exchanged a look with his partner. Because Roberts claims you executed Blake, says he was surrendering when you shot him. Sarah's blood went cold despite the warmth of shock. That's a lie. I know it is. His story doesn't match the scene, but it's going to be an issue. Internal Affairs will investigate. Standard protocol for officer-involved shootings. I was defending myself. I believe you, but there's going to be a process. Webb finished with the IV. Right now, my job is keeping you alive. Politics comes later. They lifted her into the Suburban. The movement sent fresh agony through her shoulder. Sarah bit down on a scream. Webb's partner drove. Webb stayed in back with her, monitoring vitals, adjusting the IV drip. Where are we going? Safe house, 40 minutes north. Surgeon's already there. Former Army, trauma specialist. He'll patch you up. Webb checked her pupils. Stay with me, Agent Chen. Keep talking. Tell me what happened. Sarah told him. Started with the slap on Riverside Gardens. The arrest, the beating, Harrison's betrayal, the clearing, the shootout. Webb listened without interrupting. His face stayed neutral, but his eyes showed anger. The righteous kind. The kind that meant he actually gave a damn. Emma Rodriguez, the young officer. She helped me. Sarah's words were getting harder to form. She needs protection. Chief Blake will go after her. Already on it. State Police pulled her out 3 hours ago. She's in protective custody. Webb adjusted the IV. She's the one who told us about the transfer. Called it in to State Police when you didn't come back. Probably saved your life. She saved it twice then. The Suburban pulled onto a private road. Trees closed in on both sides. They drove for another 10 minutes before reaching a small house. Single story, nondescript, perfect for hiding people. Inside, the surgeon was waiting. Dr. Patrick Chen, no relation, Sarah learned later. He looked like he'd walked off a battlefield. Graying hair, steady hands, eyes that had seen too much death. Gunshot wound, through and through, left shoulder. Webb gave the details quickly. Approximately 3 hours ago, she's lost significant blood. Get her on the table. Dr. Chen was already moving. His hands were confident. Practiced. I need O-negative blood, at least 4 units, and someone tell me she's not allergic to penicillin. No allergies. Sarah's voice sounded far away. like someone else was speaking. They transferred her to a surgical table. Bright lights overhead. Dr. Chen cut away the emerald silk dress. Sarah felt a pang of loss. Stupid thing to mourn. A dress. But it had been beautiful once, before blood and violence ruined it. Local anesthetic. This is going to hurt. Dr. Chen didn't wait for acknowledgement. The needle went in. Sarah felt pressure, then burning, then blessed numbness spreading through her shoulder. Talk to me, Agent Chen. Keep your mind active. Dr. Chen was working as he spoke. Cleaning, examining, probing the wound. Tell me about growing up. Where are you from? Seattle. Sarah forced the words out. Rainier Valley, working class neighborhood. Parents. Dad was a mechanic. Mom was a nurse. Sarah's vision blurred. They wanted me to be a doctor. I became a cop instead. Disappointed them. I doubt that. Dr. Chen's voice was gentle. Bet they were proud. FBI agent? That's something. They're dead. Car accident. 10 years ago. Sarah felt tears on her face. Couldn't remember starting to cry. Never got to tell them I made special agent. They knew. Parents always know. Dr. Chen was suturing now. Sarah felt tugging, distant, disconnected from her body. My daughter's ATF, works explosives. Every day I worry she'll get blown up, but every day I'm proud she's out there fighting the good fight. Does she know? I tell her every time we talk. Dr. Chen finished suturing, started bandaging. You call your parents every chance you get, even if they're gone. They hear you. I believe that. Sarah closed her eyes. I'm tired. I know, but you need to stay awake a little longer. I'm giving you antibiotics, fluids. You're going to sleep soon, but not yet. Dr. Chen's hand was warm on her good shoulder. You did good today, Agent Chen. You survived. That's what matters. Webb appeared in her line of sight. We need to debrief you while the details are fresh. Can you handle some questions? Sarah nodded, barely. Harrison's lawyer is already claiming entrapment. Says you fabricated the evidence, the text messages between him and Blake. Webb pulled out a tablet. We need your statement on record. Everything that happened. Everything you saw and heard. Sarah talked. Forced herself to focus. Gave them every detail she could remember. Webb recorded it all. Asked clarifying questions. Cross-checked facts. By the time they finished, Sarah's voice was gone, reduced to a hoarse whisper. That's enough. Dr. Chen intervened. She needs rest. One more thing. Webb pulled up a photo on his tablet. Do you recognize this man? Sarah squinted at the screen. The face was familiar. Older. Distinguished. Silver hair. Expensive suit. That's someone from Blake's phone. His contacts. Mayor something. Mayor Richard Stapleton. He's claiming he had no knowledge of the Blake family's activities. Says he was shocked to learn about the corruption. Webb's expression was skeptical. His name appears in 47 messages from Harrison. They were discussing protection, payments, keeping investigations quiet. So arrest him. We need more than text messages. We need witness testimony. We need someone who can connect all the dots. Webb leaned closer. Agent Chen, you're the key to this entire case. Your testimony can bring down not just Harrison and the Blakes, but the entire network. Judges, prosecutors, city officials. We're talking about a corruption ring that spans 3 states. Sarah's head was spinning. Not from blood loss. From the scope of what Webb was describing. How many people? We've identified at least 60 individuals so far. That number keeps growing as we dig deeper. Webb's voice was grim. The Blake family was middle management. Harrison was the connection to federal protection. But there's someone above him, someone coordinating everything. We call him the architect, and we have no idea who he is. The architect. Every communication goes through cutouts. Encrypted channels. Burner phones. We've been trying to identify him for 2 years. Webb pulled up more files. We think he's former intelligence, CIA or NSA, someone who knows how to stay hidden. Sarah's mind was racing despite exhaustion. The messages I sent from Blake's phone, did any of them go to the architect? That's what we're trying to figure out. Blake had over 300 contacts. We're running them all down. But if the architect was in there, he's gone dark now. Knows we're coming. Webb closed the tablet, which means he's going to try to clean up loose ends. Meaning me. Meaning you, and Emma Rodriguez, and anyone else who can testify. Webb's expression was serious. You're the biggest threat to his entire operation. He's going to come after you hard. Let him come. Sarah's voice was stronger now. Anger was better than painkillers. I'm done running. You're done bleeding out is what you are. Dr. Chen pushed Webb back. That's enough. She needs rest. Real rest. Not tactical planning. Webb nodded. We'll talk more tomorrow. For now, you're safe here. Armed guards outside. Secure perimeter. Nobody gets in without authorization. Harrison's people. Harrison doesn't have people anymore. His entire team is under investigation. The ones who aren't arrested are suspended. Webb stood. Get some sleep, Agent Chen. You earned it. They moved her to a bedroom. Small. Spartan. A bed with clean sheets felt like luxury after the concrete cell. Sarah lay down carefully. Her shoulder throbbed despite the medication. Everything hurt, but she was alive. Emma Rodriguez appeared in the doorway. The young officer looked terrified, exhausted. She had aged 10 years in one night. Agent Chen, I heard you were hurt. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. If I'd been braver sooner... Stop, Sarah's voice was firm. You saved my life, twice. You have nothing to apologize for. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Blake's dead. Marcus Blake. I heard on the radio. They're saying you killed him. I defended myself. He tried to execute me. I know that. But Chief Blake is saying different. He's saying you went rogue, that you attacked his brother without cause. Emma wiped her eyes. He's got lawyers. Good ones. They're building a case against you. Let them try. Sarah shifted on the bed. Pain flared. Emma, I need you to do something for me. Anything. Write down everything you saw, everything you heard, every act of corruption, every violation, every person involved. Sarah held Emma's gaze. Your testimony is going to put people in prison, but only if you're brave enough to tell the truth. I'm scared. Good. Fear means you understand the stakes. Fear keeps you careful. Just don't let it keep you silent. Sarah reached out with her good hand, squeezed Emma's arm. You're stronger than you think. You proved that already. Emma nodded, her jaw set with determination. I'll write everything down. Every name, every date, everything. Good. Now get some rest. Tomorrow we start fighting back. Emma left. Sarah closed her eye. Sleep pulled at her, deep and dark and irresistible, but before she went under, her phone buzzed. Webb had given it back, fully charged. Clean device, no trackers, a text message, unknown number. Impressive work, Agent Chen. You've caused significant disruption, but you've also made yourself a target. The people you've exposed have resources you can't imagine. Watch your back. They're coming. A friend? Sarah stared at the message. A friend? Or the architect? Or someone else entirely? Impossible to know. She started to type a response. Stopped. Deleted it. Whoever sent the message was testing her, seeing if she'd engage, trying to establish communication. She blocked the number, showed the message to Webb, who was standing guard outside her door. Trace it? Already on it. Webb photographed the screen. Though I doubt it'll lead anywhere. These people are professionals. Everyone makes mistakes. Blake made one, Harrison made one, whoever this is will make one too. Sarah handed the phone back. I just need to be alive when they do. She finally slept. Dreamless. Deep. The sleep of the truly exhausted. When she woke, sunlight was streaming through the window. Her shoulder was on fire. The anesthetic had worn off. Real pain now, the kind that told you that you were alive and everything had a price. Dr. Chen came in with breakfast. Eggs, toast, orange juice. You need to eat. Build your strength back. Sarah forced herself to sit up. The room spun, steadied. She ate mechanically. Food was fuel, nothing more. The eggs tasted like cardboard, but she finished them anyway. How's the shoulder? Hurts. Good. Pain means the nerves are intact. No permanent damage. Dr. Chen checked her vitals. You're healing well, better than expected. You're young, strong. Your body knows what to do. Webb entered carrying a stack of folders. Feeling better. Define better. Able to work? Webb set the folders on the bed. Because we've got a problem. A big one. Sarah's stomach dropped. What now? Roberts changed his story this morning, with his lawyer present. Webb opened the first folder. He's now claiming you shot Blake while Blake was trying to surrender. Says Blake threw down his weapon, put his hands up, and you executed him anyway. That's bullshit. I know, but his lawyer is good, really good, and Roberts is offering to testify against you in exchange for immunity. Webb pulled out photos, crime scene documentation. The problem is the evidence is ambiguous. Blake was shot 3 times. All 3 wounds are frontal, could support either version of events. I fired in self-defense, Blake fired first, hit me in the shoulder. Ballistics confirms you were shot, but they can't confirm who fired first. No witnesses except you and Roberts. And Roberts is saying you fired first. Webb's expression was grim. There's going to be a grand jury. They'll decide if you're charged with murder. Murder? Sarah's voice was hollow. I kill a corrupt cop who was trying to execute me, and I get charged with murder. It's political. Chief Blake has connections. He's using them, calling in favors, trying to flip the narrative, make you the bad guy. Webb sat on the edge of the bed. The good news is the text messages are solid. Harrison's going down. The chief is facing federal charges. The corruption case is strong. But they're going to sacrifice me to save themselves. They're going to try. Webb pulled out another folder. Which is why we need to move fast. We need to find the architect before he finds you, because once he does, you're not going to survive a second assassination attempt. Sarah's mind raced. The messages I sent, from Blake's phone, did anyone respond? 73 people responded, most claiming they had no idea what Blake was talking about, denying everything, deleting their own message histories. Webb scrolled through his tablet. But 3 people didn't respond at all, radio silence, which is interesting. Who Sunk, Mayor Stapleton, Judge Patricia Hammond, and a businessman named Victor Reeves. Webb pulled up their photos. Hammond's a federal judge, appointed 10 years ago, clean record, but she's presided over 17 cases involving police misconduct. Dismissed 14 of them. That's a suspicious pattern. And Reeves? Real estate developer, made his fortune buying properties in low-income neighborhoods, forcing residents out, then selling to the city at inflated prices. Webb's voice dripped contempt. He's also a major political donor, contributes to campaigns at every level, local, state, federal. Sarah studied the photos. One of these 3 is the architect. Or they know who the architect is. Webb closed the tablet. Which is why we're going to lean on them, hard, starting with the weakest link, which is the mayor. Stapleton's a career politician, never faced real consequences. He'll break if we apply enough pressure. Webb stood. But we need leverage, something that scares him more than the architect does. Sarah thought for a moment. His family, does he have kids? 2, college age, both at Ivy League schools, expensive tuition, more expensive than his government salary should allow. Webb smiled. It wasn't a nice expression. Financial crimes, tax evasion, money laundering. We dig into his finances, we'll find something. Do it. Find his weakness. Exploit it. Sarah's voice was hard, cold. These people tried to kill me, tried to bury me. Now I'm going to bury them. Webb nodded. That's the spirit. Rest today. Tomorrow we go on offense. He left. Sarah lay back on the bed. Her shoulder throbbed, her body ached, but her mind was clear, focused. She'd survived the kill box. Now it was time to hunt. Her phone buzzed again, another unknown number. Sarah's hand hovered over it. Delete without reading or see what fresh hell was coming. She opened the message. The grand jury convenes in 3 days. Roberts will testify. You'll be indicted. Chief Blake will make sure of it. But there's another way. A deal. Your testimony against Harrison in exchange for immunity on the Blake shooting. Interested, Morrison. Assistant Director Morrison. Sarah's finger hovered over the reply button. This could be real. Morrison was running the investigation. She had the authority to make deals, but it could also be a trap. A way to get Sarah to admit guilt, to confess to something that could be twisted. Sarah called Webb instead. Did Morrison offer me a deal? What kind of deal? Sarah read him the message. Webb was quiet for a long moment. I'll check with her directly. Don't respond until I verify it's really from her. Copy that. 10 minutes later, Webb was back. It's legitimate. Morrison sent it through a secure channel. Somehow it came through as a regular text on your end. Tech issue, but the offer is real. What do you think? I think you don't have a choice. If you go to trial on the Blake shooting, you might win. But it'll destroy your career either way. Take the deal. Testify against Harrison. Live to fight another day. Webb's voice softened. You've already paid enough. Let someone else bleed for a while. Sarah closed her eyes, thought about her parents, what they would say. Her father would tell her to fight, to never back down. Her mother would tell her to be smart, to survive so she could keep fighting tomorrow. She typed a response to Morrison. I'll take the deal, but I want protection for Emma Rodriguez. Full witness protection, new identity, new life. She doesn't go back to that precinct ever. The response came within seconds. Agreed. Draft your statement. We'll have you in front of Harrison's lawyers by end of week. Morrison. Sarah set the phone down. Felt something release in her chest. Not relief, not victory, just the absence of immediate threat. For now, for today. She could breathe. Dr. Chen returned with pain medication. How are you feeling? Like I got shot. Technically, you did get shot. Dr. Chen smiled. But you're healing well. Another few days and you'll be mobile. Few weeks and you'll be back to full strength. I don't have a few weeks. You have whatever time your body needs. Push too hard and you'll tear the sutures. End up back on my table, or worse. Dr. Chen's voice was firm, professional. I've seen too many agents destroy themselves trying to be heroes. Don't be one of them. Sarah nodded, but she knew herself, knew she wouldn't wait, couldn't wait. Every day she was recovering was a day the architect was preparing, cleaning up loose ends, eliminating threats. Night fell. Sarah's second night in the safe house. Emma came by again, brought a stack of handwritten pages. My statement. Everything I saw, everything I know. Sarah read through it. 40 pages of detailed accounts, names, dates, specific incidents. Emma had a good memory, better than good. Her testimony would be devastating. This is excellent work. There's more? Things I remembered after I started writing, things I'd blocked out because they were too awful. Emma's voice shook. There was a woman, 2 years ago, black woman, mid-30s. She filed a complaint against Marcus Blake, said he assaulted her during a traffic stop. The complaint disappeared. So did she. Disappeared how? I don't know. One day she was coming to the precinct to follow up. Next day, nobody had any record of her complaint. Her phone was disconnected. Her apartment was empty, like she never existed. Emma's hands trembled. I asked about her. Blake told me to mind my own business. Told me people who ask too many questions end up regretting it. Sarah's blood went cold. Do you remember her name? Jessica Martin. I remember because I have a cousin named Jessica. Emma pulled out her phone, showed Sarah a photo. I took this from the file before it disappeared. Thought I was being paranoid. Turns out I wasn't paranoid enough. The photo showed a driver's license. Jessica Martin. Beautiful smile. Bright eyes. Full of life. Sarah memorized the face, added it to her list. Another victim. Another person the Blakes had destroyed. We're going to find her. Dead or alive. We're going to find out what happened. Sarah handed the phone back. And everyone responsible is going to pay. Emma left. Sarah tried to sleep. Couldn't. Her mind was racing. Jessica Martin. How many others were there? How many people had disappeared? How many bodies were buried in that clearing? She got up, ignored the pain, walked to the kitchens where Webb was monitoring security feeds. I need you to run a name. Jessica Martin, black female, mid-30s, filed a complaint against Marcus Blake 2 years ago, then disappeared. Webb's fingers flew across the keyboard. Got her. Jessica Lynn Martin, age 34 at time of disappearance. Reported missing by her sister. Case went cold within a week. No leads, no body, nothing. Who investigated what Riverside Gardens PD lead detective was... Oh hell, it was Roberts. Dave Roberts. Sarah's jaw clenched. He buried it. Looks that way. Case file is almost empty. No interviews, no follow-up. Just a missing person report and then nothing. Webb pulled up more files. But her cell phone records are interesting. Last ping was near that clearing, where you killed Blake. She's buried there. Probably. We'll need cadaver dogs, ground-penetrating radar, full forensic sweep. Webb looked at Sarah. This just became a potential serial murder investigation. How many other women disappeared? Webb ran a search. His face went pale. 15, over a 10-year period. All filed complaints against Riverside PD, all disappeared within weeks of filing. All cases handled by Roberts or Blake. 15 women, 15 lives, erased, buried, forgotten. Sarah felt rage building, hot, righteous, overwhelming. We're digging up that clearing tomorrow. I don't care what it takes. I want every body found, every woman identified, every family notified. Sarah's voice was shaking. And I want Roberts to know. I want him to know we found them. I want him to see his entire world collapse. Webb nodded. I'll make the calls. Sarah returned to her room. Sleep was impossible now. She lay in the dark and thought about 15 women who'd asked for help, who'd trusted the system, who'd believed justice existed, and who'd been murdered for that belief. Her phone buzzed, another unknown number. Sarah almost didn't open it, but something made her look. You're asking the right questions. Keep digging. The clearing is just the beginning. There are 3 more burial sites. I can give you locations, but I need something in return. Friend. Sarah showed the message to Webb immediately. The architect has to be. Nobody else would know about other burial sites. Webb photographed the message. He's playing games, testing you, seeing if you'll deal with the devil. What does he want? That's what scares me. People like him don't give information for free. There's always a price. Webb's expression was troubled. My advice, don't engage. Delete the number. Let us handle it. But Sarah was already typing. What do you want? The response came instantly. Justice. Real justice. Not the theatrical kind. The permanent kind. Friend. What does that mean? It means some people can't be prosecuted. Too connected. Too protected. They need to be eliminated. And you're the perfect weapon? Friend? Sarah's stomach turned. You want me to kill for you? I want you to do what the system won't. Remove obstacles. Clean up messes. In exchange, I give you everything. Names, evidence, burial sites, the entire network exposed. Friend? Webb was reading over her shoulder. He's trying to recruit you, turn you into an assassin. Why me? Because you've already killed. You've proven you can do it, and because you're desperate, cornered, facing a grand jury, he thinks you'll do anything to survive. Webb took the phone. I'm blocking this number. Wait. Sarah stopped him. What if he's right? What if some people can't be touched legally? What if the only way to stop them is outside the system? Don't. Webb's voice was sharp. Don't go down that road. The moment you become what you're fighting against, you've lost. Everything you've sacrificed. Everything you fought for. Gone. Sarah knew he was right, but the temptation was there. Whispering, seductive, the architect was offering shortcuts, solutions, an end to the fighting. All she had to do was compromise, bend, break. Block it, Sarah's voice was firm. I'm not interested in his games. Webb blocked the number. Good choice. We do this the right way. Even if it takes longer. Even if it's harder. Sarah nodded, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the architect had just shown his hand. He was testing her, seeing if she could be corrupted, and when he realized she couldn't, he'd move to plan B. Elimination. Dawn broke with news that changed everything. Webb burst into Sarah's room at 6 a.m, his face pale. Roberts is dead. Sarah sat up too fast. Pain exploded in her shoulder. What? Found in his cell an hour ago, apparent suicide, hung himself with a bedsheet. Webb's voice was tight, angry. Convenient timing. He was supposed to testify today. Suicide. Sarah's voice dripped sarcasm. Let me guess, no cameras working. No guards saw anything, just another prisoner who couldn't live with his guilt. You're catching on. Webb pulled out his tablet. But here's where it gets interesting. Before he died, he wrote a confession, full detailed account of everything. The corruption, the murders, the burial sites, all of it. Sarah's instincts screamed, That's too clean. Way too clean, and it gets better. The confession exonerates you completely. Says Blake fired first, says you acted in self-defense, says he lied under pressure from Chief Blake. Webb's expression was grim. It's a gift, a perfect gift, tied with a bow. From the architect. Has to be. He couldn't recruit you, so he eliminated his problem another way. Roberts was always the weak link, the one who'd eventually talk. So he removed him and gave us a confession that solves multiple problems. Webb sat on the edge of the bed. The grand jury won't indict you now, not with a written confession from the only witness. Sarah's mind raced. But we lose Robert's testimony, everything he knew about the network, everyone he could have identified? Gone. Exactly. The architect sacrificed a pawn to protect his bishops and rooks. Webb stood, started pacing. And there's nothing we can do about it. The confession is legal, signed, witnessed by the night guard who found him, everything by the book. Who was the guard? Local deputy, transferred in 3 weeks ago from county. Background check came back clean. Webb pulled up a file. Names Michael Torres, former military, Marine Corps, 2 tours in Iraq, honorable discharge, no criminal record. Run a deeper check, financial records, family connections, social media, everything. Sarah threw off the blanket, started to stand. Her shoulder screamed. She ignored it. The architect doesn't use people without leverage. Find Torres's pressure point. Webb made calls. Sarah dressed slowly. Every movement hurt, but she pushed through. Pain was information, her body telling her she was alive. She'd be dead before she'd let it stop her. Dr. Chen appeared with breakfast and objections. You should be resting. I'll rest when I'm dead, which might be soon if I don't keep moving. Sarah forced down scrambled eggs that tasted like sand. How long before I can handle a weapon? Your right arm is fine. Left shoulder needs another week before you should be doing anything strenuous. Dr. Chen checked her bandages. You're healing well, but infection is still a risk. Keep the wound clean, change dressings twice daily, and for God's sake, don't get into another gunfight. I'll try my best. Webb returned with news. Torres is interesting. His bank account shows regular deposits, $5,000, every month for the past year, always cash, no clear source. The architect's been paying him. Looks that way, but here's the kicker. Torres has a sister, younger, terminal cancer. Medical bills are astronomical. Insurance won't cover experimental treatment. Webb pulled up more files. 3 months ago, someone paid off her entire medical debt. $200,000. Anonymous donor. Sarah's jaw clenched. The architect bought him with his sister's life. Can't prove it, but yeah, that's exactly what happened. Webb closed the tablet. Torres won't talk. His sister's alive because of that money. He'll go to prison before he gives up his benefactor. Then we don't need him to talk. We just need to follow the money. Sarah grabbed her jacket, winced as the movement pulled her shoulder. Anonymous donation that size requires paperwork, tax forms, transfer records, something. Find the trail. Already on it, but it'll take time. These people are professionals. They know how to hide money. Webb helped her with the jacket. Morrison wants to see you, today, in person. She's flying in. Why? Didn't say, but her tone suggested it wasn't optional. Webb checked his watch. She'll be here in 2 hours, which gives us time to brief you on something else. What else could there possibly be? The clearing. We sent cadaver dogs yesterday evening. They hit on 7 locations, 7 bodies, all female, all buried within the past decade. Webb's voice was heavy. Forensics is extracting them now. Preliminary IDs match 4 of the missing women from our list. Sarah felt something break inside her chest. 7 women, 7 lives, buried in unmarked graves because they dared to seek justice. Jessica Martin. Too early to confirm, but one of the bodies matches her general description. Dental records will take a few days. Webb met her eyes. You were right. This was never just about corruption. This was about systematic elimination of threats. Who else knew about the clearing? That's what scares me. Blake and Roberts, obviously. But who else? Who helped them dig? Who helped move bodies? This wasn't a one-man operation. Webb pulled up a map. And if there's one burial site, there are more. The architect mentioned 3 others. We need to find them before he moves the evidence. Sarah studied the map. What's the common factor? What connects these locations? They're all isolated. State forest land, private property, places where you can dig without witnesses. Webb zoomed in on different areas. But there's no obvious pattern, no clear connection. Yes, there is. Sarah pointed to the map. They're all within 20 miles of Riverside Gardens, close enough for convenience, far enough for deniability, and look at the property ownership. Webb pulled up records. His face went pale. Oh, hell. 3 of the 4 properties are owned by shell companies, and all 3 shell companies trace back to the same law firm. Which firm? Hammond & Associates, Judge Patricia Hammond's firm. She's the managing partner. Webb's hands were shaking. She's not just protecting them, she's providing the infrastructure, the legal framework, the burial grounds. Sarah's blood went cold. A federal judge, facilitating murder, providing cover, using her position to shield killers. We need a warrant. We need to search those properties now. On what grounds? We don't have probable cause. All we have is suspicious property ownership and hunches. Webb was already on his phone. But I'm calling Morrison. This is big enough that we need to move fast. Morrison arrived 90 minutes later. She looked like she'd aged 10 years since Sarah last saw her. Gray hair pulled back tight, lines around her eyes deeper, the weight of command taking its toll. Agent Chen, you look terrible. I got shot. I'm aware. I read the medical reports. Morrison sat across from Sarah. Her expression was unreadable. Robert's death complicates things, but it also simplifies them. The confession clears you of criminal charges. The grand jury has been dismissed. You're no longer facing indictment. That's good news. It would be if I believed it was legitimate, but I don't, and neither do you. Morrison leaned forward. Someone cleaned up a loose end. Someone with access to county jail. Someone who could make a death look like suicide. Someone who could produce a perfectly worded confession. The architect. That's what you're calling him. Morrison's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Appropriate. He's building something. A structure. A system. And we're only seeing the foundation. Sarah waited. Morrison was building to something. Leading somewhere. I need you to understand the political situation. Morrison's voice dropped. Judge Hammond is a federal appointee. She has friends in Congress, in the Senate, people who will scream if we come at her without ironclad evidence. We have evidence. We have suspicious property records. That's not enough. We need witnesses. We need documents. We need her caught in the act. Morrison pulled out a folder. Which is why I'm authorizing a special operation. You, Webb, and a hand-picked team. Your job is to surveil Hammond. Document everything. Build a case we can prosecute. What about the burial sites? We'll search them, but quietly, without warrants, just cadaver dogs and forensic teams. If we find bodies, then we have probable cause for official warrants. Morrison's eyes were hard. This is off book. If it goes wrong, I'll deny knowledge. You'll be on your own. I've been on my own since this started. True. But now you have resources. Use them wisely. Morrison stood. Harrison's arraignment is tomorrow. He's going to plead not guilty, claim the evidence was fabricated. His lawyers are already attacking the chain of custody on those text messages. The messages are real. I know, but proving it in court is different than knowing it. His lawyers are good, very good. They're going to make this difficult. Morrison headed for the door, stopped. One more thing. Your friend. The one sending you messages. Have you heard from him again? Not since Webb blocked the number. He'll find another way to contact you. These types always do. When he does play along, string him out. See what you can learn. Morrison's voice was cold. But don't trust him. Not for a second. People like that don't have friends. They have assets. And the moment you stop being useful, you become a liability. Morrison left. Webb pulled out tactical gear. We start surveillance tonight. Hammond has a routine. Dinner at her club every Tuesday. Returns home around 9. We'll set up across the street. Watch her patterns. See who visits. What about the other properties? Teams are already moving. We'll have eyes on all 4 locations by midnight. Webb handed Sarah a vest. Can you wear this without reopening your shoulder? Sarah tested the weight. Pain flared but manageable. I can handle it. Good, because if this goes sideways, I need you able to move fast. Webb was loading weapons, checking equipment. Hammond's not stupid. If she realizes we're watching, she'll disappear. Or worse, she'll call in favors and we'll be the ones arrested. They spent the afternoon preparing. Sarah memorized files, studied photos, learned everything about Judge Patricia Hammond. 58 years old, married, once divorced, no children, Harvard Law, worked as a prosecutor before going into private practice, made partner in 6 years, built one of the most successful firms in the state, appointed to federal bench by a president who owed her political favors. On paper, she was accomplished, respected, powerful. But Sarah saw the pattern underneath, the cases she'd dismissed, the suspects she'd released, the investigations she'd buried, 30 years of corruption hidden behind a black robe and a gavel. Night fell. They loaded into an unmarked van. Webb drove. Sarah sat in back with surveillance equipment. 2 other agents joined them, both young, both hungry, both looking at Sarah like she was either a hero or a cautionary tale. Hammond's house was in an exclusive neighborhood, not Riverside Gardens, but close. Old money, old trees, old secrets. They parked 3 blocks away, walked in separately, met at a vacant house across the street. The owner was traveling. The realtor had been convinced to provide access. No questions asked. They set up on the 2nd floor, night vision, telephoto lenses, audio equipment. Sarah watched Hammond's house through the scope. Lights were on, movement in the kitchen. Hammond was home. She's alone. Webb monitored thermal imaging. No guests, no staff, just her. They waited. Minutes turned to hours. Sarah's shoulder throbbed. She ignored it. Focused on the house, looking for patterns, anomalies, anything. At 10:15, a car pulled into Hammond's driveway. Expensive, black, tinted windows. Sarah photographed the license plate, ran it through the database. The car was registered to a corporate entity. More shell companies, more lawyers, more smoke. A man got out, tall, distinguished, silver hair. Sarah recognized him from the files. Mayor Stapleton. He approached the front door. Hammond let him in. No kiss, no embrace. Business meeting. Audio. Webb adjusted the equipment. I'm getting voices, but they're muffled. Too much insulation. Sarah pulled out her phone, opened an app. I've got something better. What's that? Laser microphone. Reads vibrations on glass windows. Turns them into sound. Sarah aimed her phone at Hammond's living room window. The app processed, filtered, clarified. Hammond's voice came through crisp and clear. This is a problem, Richard. A significant problem. Roberts was supposed to keep quiet. Now he's dead and left a confession. I didn't order that hit. Stapleton's voice was defensive. Someone else is moving pieces. Obviously, the question is who and what they want. Hammond's voice was cold. Clinical. Roberts' confession clears the FBI agent, which means she's free to continue investigating, which means we're exposed. So we eliminate her. Simple solution. Nothing about this is simple. She's federal. She's protected. She's already survived one assassination attempt. Going after her again will draw even more attention. Hammond paused. No, we need a different approach. We need to discredit her, make her look unstable, paranoid. We destroy her credibility before she destroys us. Sarah's hands tightened on the phone. They were planning her character assassination, live, in real time. How? Stapleton asked. We plant evidence, we create a narrative, we show that she's been obsessed with this case, that she's fabricated evidence to support her conspiracy theories, that she killed Blake not in self-defense but in cold blood because she'd lost touch with reality. Hammond's voice was matter-of-fact, like she was discussing dinner plans. I have contacts in the bureau, people who owe me favors. They can make certain documents appear, certain psychiatric evaluations, certain internal complaints. Webb looked at Sarah. His expression was murderous. We've got them. This is conspiracy, obstruction, tampering. Keep recording. Sarah's voice was steady, cold. Let them dig deeper. What about Harrison? Stapleton asked. His arraignment is tomorrow. If he talks, he won't talk. He's smarter than Roberts. He knows the rules. Hammond's confidence was absolute. Harrison takes the fall for the text messages. He gets a reduced sentence in exchange for keeping his mouth shut. 5 years, maybe 7, he'll be out in 3 with good behavior. And when he gets out, he'll be taken care of. Comfortable retirement, offshore accounts, we protect our own. And if he doesn't play along, then he has an accident, just like Roberts. Hammond's voice didn't change. Still calm, still clinical. Dead men can't testify. It's a simple equation. Sarah felt rage building. White hot. Overwhelming. These people talked about murder like it was a business transaction. Lives meant nothing. Justice meant nothing. Only power mattered. Only control. There's something else. Stapleton's voice dropped lower. The burial sites. The FBI is sniffing around. They found 7 bodies. I'm aware. The dogs hit on my properties. Hammond sounded annoyed. Not scared. Annoyed. We'll need to move the others, tonight, before they expand the search. Move them where Victor has property out of state, Nevada, desert land, no neighbors, no questions. Hammond was planning, calculating. We transport them in refrigerated trucks. Look like commercial delivery. If anyone asks, we're moving medical waste. Perfectly legal. When? Tonight, I'll make the calls. Victor will arrange trucks. You make sure the route is clear, no checkpoints, no traffic stops, nothing that draws attention. Hammond's voice hardened. And Richard, no more mistakes, no more loose ends. We're too close to have this fall apart because of sloppy execution. Understood. They talked for another 20 minutes, discussed logistics, named names, provided details, every word recorded, every sentence documented. By the time Stapleton left, Sarah had enough evidence to bury them both. Webb was on the phone immediately. Morrison needs to hear this, now. Not yet. Sarah grabbed his arm. Hammond said they're moving bodies tonight. That means we can catch them in the act. Red-handed. No deniability, no legal wiggle room. It's too dangerous. We need backup. Proper teams. Warrants. We don't have time for warrants. They're moving now. By morning, the evidence is gone, scattered across state lines, lost forever. Sarah checked her weapon. We follow the trucks, document everything, then we call in cavalry. Webb stared at her. You're asking me to let potential evidence leave the jurisdiction, to wait while they commit additional crimes. That's not protocol. Protocol is what got us here. Protocol is what let these people operate for decades. Protocol is why 7 women are in that clearing. Sarah's voice was steel. I'm done with protocol. I'm done playing by rules they ignore. Tonight we stop them, permanently. Webb made a decision. All right, but we do this smart. No heroics. We observe, we document, we build an airtight case. They waited, watched. At midnight, the trucks arrived. 2 of them, refrigerated, just like Hammond said. They backed up to the property gate. Men climbed out, 6 of them, all wearing dark clothes, all moving with military precision. Sarah photographed everything. Faces, license plates, the company name on the trucks, every detail documented. The men went into the woods, came back carrying large containers, heavy-duty plastic, sealed, the kind used for hazardous material transport, or bodies. Loading took an hour. Both trucks were filled. The men climbed back in. Engines started. They pulled away, heading west. We follow. Webb already had keys in hand. We follow. Sarah was already moving. But stay back. Don't spook them. They followed the trucks through back roads. No highways. No populated areas. The route was carefully planned, designed to avoid attention, avoid cameras, avoid witnesses. 2 hours into the drive, Sarah's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she opened it. You're following the trucks. Smart. But you're not the only ones watching. Turn around. Now. You're heading into a trap. Friend. Sarah showed Webb the message. The architect. Could be lying. Could be trying to stop us from catching them. Or he's telling the truth. Sarah's instincts screamed. He's been right about everything else. Roberts, the burial sites, Hammond's involvement. Why lie now? Webb slowed the van. What do you want to do? Sarah studied the road ahead. Dark. Empty. Perfect ambush territory. Call Morrison. Tell her what we've got. Have her send back up to Hammond's property and intercept these trucks. And us. We turn around. Live to fight another day. Sarah hated the words even as she said them. The architect's right. This is a trap. Hammond knew we were watching. She let us hear that conversation. She wanted us to follow, so she could eliminate us far from witnesses. Webb was already turning around. Morrison's going to be pissed we went off book. Morrison's going to be pissed we're alive. She can deal with it. Sarah kept watching the road behind them, looking for pursuit, seeing nothing. Yet. They made it back to the safe house at 4 a.m. Morrison was already there, waiting. Her expression promised pain. You 2 have 30 seconds to explain why I shouldn't suspend you both. Webb explained. The surveillance, the recording, Hammond and Stapleton's conversation, the trucks, the decision to turn back. Morrison listened without interrupting. When Webb finished, she sat in silence for a full minute. Finally spoke. You got them, on tape, discussing obstruction, evidence tampering, body disposal, murder conspiracy. Morrison's voice was quiet, deadly. That's enough for warrants, for arrests, for RICO charges that'll put them away for life. What about the trucks? State police intercepted them an hour ago, pulled them over for routine inspection, found the containers, opened them. Morrison's expression was grim. 12 bodies, 12 women, all missing persons from the past 15 years, all connected to complaints against police, all murdered and buried. Sarah felt the room spin. 12 more victims. 12 more lives erased. The drivers in custody, singing already. They're scared. They're looking at accomplice to murder charges. They're giving up names, locations, everything. Morrison pulled out her phone, showed them booking photos. Judge Hammond, Mayor Stapleton, and 3 others we didn't know about, all arrested within the past 2 hours, all being processed right now. What about the architect? Still ghost, still invisible. Morrison's jaw clenched. But we got his infrastructure, his network, his protection. He's exposed now, vulnerable. It's only a matter of time before we find him. Sarah wanted to believe that, wanted to think this was over, but something nagged at her, something wrong. It's too easy. Easy. Morrison's eyebrows rose. You got shot. You killed 2 men. You exposed federal corruption at the highest levels. You found 19 bodies. What part of that was easy? The architect let this happen. He warned us about the trap. He helped us avoid it, which means he wanted Hammond arrested. He wanted the network exposed. Sarah's mind raced. Why? What does he gain? Webb got it first. He's cleaning house, eliminating everyone who knows about him. Roberts, Hammond, Stapleton, all the loose ends who could identify him. He's using us to do his dirty work. Morrison's face went pale. Harrison's arraignment is in 3 hours. He's the last one who can identify the architect. If he testifies... Her phone rang. She answered, listened. Her expression went from pale to gray. She hung up. Harrison's dead. Found in his cell 20 minutes ago. Apparent heart attack. They're calling it natural causes. Morrison's voice was hollow. He was 52, perfect health, no history of cardiac problems. The architect had won. He'd eliminated every witness, burned his entire network, covered his tracks so completely that they were left with nothing. No leads, no names, no way forward. Sarah felt defeat settling in. Heavy, suffocating. They'd stopped the corruption, saved future victims, brought justice for the dead. But the man orchestrating everything was still free, still out there, still untouchable. Her phone buzzed. One last message from the architect. Well played, Agent Chen. You're better than I expected. But this was never about Hammond or Harrison or the Blakes. This was about testing you, measuring you, seeing if you're worthy of what comes next. You passed. Now the real game begins. Sleep well? You've earned it. Architect. Sarah stared at the message. The real game. Everything until now had been a test, an audition. The architect had been playing chess while everyone else played checkers, and he was 10 moves ahead. She showed the message to Morrison and Webb. Neither spoke for a long moment. Finally, Morrison broke the silence. Get some rest, both of you. Tomorrow we regroup, figure out our next move. What if there is no next move? Sarah's voice was tired. What if we already lost? Then we lost fighting. That's more than most people can say. Morrison headed for the door. Get some sleep, Agent Chen. You're going to need it. Sarah lay in bed as dawn broke. Her shoulder ached. Her body ached. Her soul ached. She'd won the battle, but the war was just beginning. The architect was still out there, planning, preparing, testing. And somehow, Sarah knew she'd be seeing him again soon. Very soon. Sarah didn't sleep. She lay in bed watching shadows move across the ceiling. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw bodies. 19 women. Buried. Forgotten. Their families still wondering what happened. Still hoping for phone calls that would never come. Her phone buzzed at 7 in the morning. Morrison. Conference room. Now. We've got something. Sarah dressed quickly. Her shoulder protested, but she pushed through. Webb was already in the conference room when she arrived. His eyes were bloodshot. He hadn't slept either. Morrison pulled up images on the screen. The drivers talked, gave us names. One name in particular caught my attention. Victor Reeves, the real estate developer. Turns out he's more than just a businessman. How much more former CIA? Spent 20 years in clandestine operations, specializing in what they called wet work. Morrison's voice was grim. Assassinations, regime change, the kind of stuff that never makes official records. He retired 8 years ago, supposedly, but his financials show income from dozens of shell companies, all linked to criminal enterprises. Sarah felt pieces clicking together. He's the architect. That's my working theory. He has the skills, the connections, the resources, and he has motive. Morrison pulled up more files. Reeves owns properties in 17 states, all purchased through intermediaries, all in remote locations, perfect for disposal sites. Have we searched them? Teams are moving now, but here's the problem. Reeves disappeared 12 hours ago. Private jet left from a regional airport. Flight plan listed Mexico, but we have no confirmation he actually went there. He could be anywhere. Webb leaned forward. His family associates? Someone has to know where he went. No family? His wife died 5 years ago. No children? No siblings. His business partner claims he's on vacation, expected back in 2 weeks. Morrison's frustration was evident. We've got warrants, we've got probable cause, but we don't have a target. Sarah studied the photo of Reeves. Silver hair, distinguished face, cold eyes, the same man from Blake's contacts. The same man who'd met with Hammond. He'd been there the entire time, hiding in plain sight. He's not running, he's watching, waiting to see what we do next. What makes you say that? Because that's what I'd do. He spent 20 years as a spy. He knows how to disappear, but he also knows we'll eventually find him if he stays hidden, so he's going to come to us, On his terms. His timeline. Sarah's voice was certain. The message last night. The real game begins. He's planning something. Something big. Morrison's phone rang. She answered. Listened. Her face went white. When? How many? Understood. We're moving now. She hung up. Bombing, federal courthouse, downtown, 20 minutes ago. Buildings collapsed. Casualties unknown, but significant. First responders are on scene. Sarah's stomach dropped. The files. Harrison's case files. They were in that courthouse. Along with evidence from a dozen other corruption cases, grand jury testimonies, witness statements, everything. Morrison was already moving. This is Reeves. Has to be. He's destroying evidence, eliminating any trail that leads back to him. They rushed to the courthouse. The devastation was total. The entire West Wing had collapsed. Smoke poured from the rubble. Sirens wailed. People screamed. Sarah saw bodies being pulled from the wreckage, some moving, some not. Webb grabbed an incident commander. How many inside? We don't know yet. The building was supposed to be mostly empty, early morning, but there were night staff. Security, maybe 30 people? The commander's face was gray. We've pulled out 8 so far, 3 dead, 5 critical. Sarah scanned the area, looking for anything out of place. Any sign of the bomber. The device had been sophisticated, placed perfectly to bring down the wing containing the evidence rooms. This wasn't amateur hour. This was professional demolition. Agent Chen? Emma Rodriguez appeared from the crowd. Her face was streaked with soot. I was supposed to testify today, here, this building. They called me this morning. Told me the hearing was postponed. Told me not to come. Sarah's blood ran cold. Who called you? Unknown number, male voice. Said he was from the prosecutor's office. Said there was a scheduling conflict. Said they'd call me with a new date. Emma was shaking. If I'd come early like I planned, if I'd been inside. But you weren't. Someone warned you. Sarah's mind raced. The architect. He warned you, which means he's making decisions about who lives and who dies. He's playing God. Why would he save me? Because you're useful. Your testimony helps him. It destroys Hammond and Stapleton but doesn't touch him. He's curating his narrative, keeping pieces that serve him, destroying pieces that don't. Sarah pulled out her phone. The last message from the architect was still there. He's in control, complete control, and we're dancing to his tune. Morrison appeared covered in dust. Evidence is gone. Everything. Years of investigation, burned or buried. And here's the worst part. The security footage from last night shows a maintenance worker entering the building at 2 a.m, carrying equipment. The ID badge belongs to a worker who quit 6 months ago. Reeves wore a disguise, walked right in, planted the bomb, walked out. Webb's voice was flat. And nobody questioned him because he had the right badge, the right uniform, the right confidence. We need to go public. Full press conference. Put his face on every screen in America. Make him too hot to operate. Morrison was already pulling out her phone. If we can't find him, we'll make him find us. That's exactly what he wants. Sarah grabbed Morrison's arm. He's pushing us toward a public confrontation, toward spectacle. That's part of his plan. He wants to be famous, wants to be known, because once he's known, he's protected. The mystery dies with exposure. Morrison pulled her arm free. Then what do you suggest? We let him keep destroying evidence, keep killing witnesses, keep operating with impunity. No, we use his ego against him. He thinks he's smarter than everyone, thinks he's untouchable. We make him prove it. Sarah's voice was steady. We offer him something he can't resist. A deal. Public acknowledgement of his brilliance in exchange for surrender. That's insane. We don't negotiate with terrorists. He's not a terrorist. He's a narcissist. Everything he's done has been about demonstrating superiority, about proving he's smarter than the system. We give him that validation. We admit he won, and when his guard drops, we take him down. Sarah met Morrison's eyes. Trust me. I've been in his head since this started. I know how he thinks. Morrison stared at her for a long moment. You have 24 hours. If this doesn't work, we go loud. Full manhunt. No games. Sarah nodded, pulled out her phone, typed a message to the last unknown number. You win. I admit it. You're smarter, better, more capable than anyone I've ever faced. I want to meet, face to face. No tricks, no backup. Just 2 professionals having a conversation. Name the time and place. I'll be there. Chen. She hit send. Waited. 5 minutes passed. 10. Sarah's heart pounded. What if she'd miscalculated? What if he didn't take the bait? Her phone buzzed. Finally, an intelligent response. Tonight, midnight, the old steel mill on the river? Come alone. Any signs of backup and I disappear forever. Don't disappoint me, Agent Chen. I've waited a long time for this conversation. Architect. Sarah showed the message to Morrison and Webb. Both started objecting immediately. It's a trap. He'll kill you. We can't let you go alone. Sarah raised her hand. Silence fell. It's not a trap. It's an invitation. He wants to talk, to justify himself, to make me understand his brilliance. That's his weakness, his need to be recognized, appreciated. I give him that he'll give me something in return. Or he'll put a bullet in your head and dump your body in the river. Webb's voice was harsh. This is suicide. Maybe, but it's the only play we have. Sarah checked her weapon. You'll have teams in position, not close, but close enough to respond if things go wrong. Thermal imaging, audio surveillance, the full package, but they stay back unless I signal. Morrison made a decision. All right, but you wear a vest. You carry a tracker, and at the first sign of trouble, we come in hard. Agreed. They spent the day preparing. Sarah memorized the mill layout, studied aerial photos, planned escape routes. But she knew none of it would matter. Reeves had chosen the location. He'd controlled every variable. If he wanted her dead, she'd be dead. The only question was whether he wanted information more than he wanted silence. Emma found Sarah in the armory. You're really going to meet him? I am. What if he kills you? Then he kills me, but at least we'll know his face, his voice, his patterns. That's more than we have now. Sarah finished loading magazines. Emma, if I don't come back, make sure my testimony gets recorded. Everything I saw, everything I learned. Don't let them bury it. You'll come back. Emma's voice was fierce. You're the strongest person I've ever met. You survived Blake. You'll survive this. Sarah wanted to believe that, wanted to think strength was enough, but she'd learned the hard way that sometimes the strongest people were the first to fall. Strength made you a target, made you a threat, made you dangerous. Midnight approached. Sarah drove alone to the steel mill. The building loomed against the night sky. Broken windows, rusted metal, decades of decay, the perfect place for a clandestine meeting. Or a murder. She parked outside, checked her weapons one last time. The vest was uncomfortable under her jacket. The tracker was sewn into her belt. Morrison and Webb were 3 miles away with a tactical team, far enough to avoid detection, close enough to respond. Sarah walked into the mill. Her footsteps echoed on concrete. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness. She activated her phone's flashlight. The beam cut through shadows, revealing graffiti and debris. Turn off the light. The voice came from above. Calm, cultured, confident. You won't need it. Your eyes will adjust. Sarah killed the light, waited. Slowly, her vision adapted. Moonlight filtered through broken skylights. She could make out shapes, structures, movement. A man descended a rusted stairway. Victor Reeves. But different from his photos. No silver hair. That had been a wig. His real hair was dark, cropped short, military style. His face was harder, more angular. The kind of face that disappeared in crowds. Agent Chen, thank you for coming. Reeves stopped 20 feet away, kept his hands visible. I appreciate your courage. Not many people would accept this invitation. Not many people are being hunted by a ghost. Reeves smiled. A ghost. I like that. Accurate. I've been dead for 8 years. Officially. Killed in a training accident in Virginia. Closed casket funeral. Full honors. My wife collected my pension. Except I'm not dead. I'm just free. Free to murder women. Free to corrupt officials. Free to destroy lives. Sarah kept her voice steady. That's what you call freedom. I call it evolution. The system is broken, Agent Chen. We both know it. Corrupt people use the law to shield themselves. Innocent people suffer, while guilty people prosper. The courts don't work. The police don't work. The entire apparatus of justice is a machine designed to protect power, not people. Reeves moved closer. So I built something better. A network. A system that actually delivers justice. Real justice. Permanent justice. You mean murder? I mean consequences. The Blakes were predators. They hurt people, destroyed families, and the system protected them for decades because they knew how to work the system, how to manipulate it, how to corrupt it. Reeves' voice was passionate, convinced. I simply removed them from the equation. Permanently. No appeals, no loopholes, just final decisive action. You killed 19 women. I killed no one. The Blakes killed those women. I simply documented it, preserved evidence. And when the time was right, I exposed them. Used their own crimes to destroy them. Reeves stopped 10 feet away. You think I'm the villain here? I'm the only person who gave those women justice. Real justice. Their killers are dead or imprisoned. Their bodies were found. Their families have closure. That's more than the system ever gave them. Sarah felt sick. His logic was twisted but internally consistent. He'd convinced himself he was a hero, a vigilante serving justice the system couldn't deliver. What about Harrison Roberts? You murdered them. I eliminated threats. Roberts would have testified yes, but he would have cut a deal, served minimal time, been released to kill again. Harrison would have used his connections, his lawyers, his money. He'd have walked within 5 years, probably less. Is that justice? Reeves shook his head. No, justice is permanent. Justice is final. Justice is a corpse that can't hurt anyone else ever again. You're insane. I'm effective. There's a difference. D.A. Reeves pulled out a tablet, pulled up files, turned it so Sarah could see. These are targets. 47 corrupt officials across 12 states, all documented, all guilty, all untouchable by conventional prosecution. I've spent 8 years building cases, gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment. Sarah looked at the list. Judges, prosecutors, police chiefs, politicians, names she recognized from news stories, from investigations that went nowhere, from cases that got dismissed. What are you planning? I'm planning to clean house, permanently, simultaneously, one night. 47 problems erased, 47 corrupt officials who will never hurt anyone again. Reeves smiled. And I want you to help me. Help you murder people. Help me deliver justice the system can't. You've seen what I can do, how effective I am, how thorough. Imagine what we could accomplish together. A federal agent and a ghost. We'd be unstoppable. Reeves extended his hand. Join me, Agent Chen. Stop pretending the system works. Stop wasting your talent on a broken machine. Help me build something better. Sarah stared at his outstretched hand. This was the moment. The test. Everything came down to what she said next. You killed Harrison because he could identify you. You killed Roberts for the same reason. If I join you, how long before I become a liability? How long before you decide I know too much? Reeves lowered his hand. Smart question. The answer is never. Because you're like me. You understand that true justice requires sacrifice, requires hard choices, requires people willing to get their hands dirty. His eyes glinted in the moonlight. We're the same, you and I. We both know the system is broken. We both want to fix it. The only difference is I'm willing to do what you're afraid to do. I'm not afraid. I'm principled. There's a difference. Principles are luxuries the powerful use to control the powerless. Real change requires real action. Permanent action. Reeves took a step closer. Think about those 19 women. They had principles. They filed complaints. They trusted the system. Where did it get them? Buried in unmarked graves. Their principles didn't save them. My actions gave them justice. Sarah's hand moved to her weapon. Slow, casual. Your actions created more victims. The people who died in the courthouse bombing. The guards, the janitors, innocent people. Acceptable losses, collateral damage. Every war has casualties. Reeves didn't seem bothered. Those people died so thousands of others could live free from corruption. It's simple mathematics. Subtract a few to save the many. That's not justice, that's terrorism. Terrorism is violence for political purposes. My violence serves justice. There's a difference. Reeves' patience was wearing thin. I gave you a chance, Agent Chen, a real opportunity to matter, to make a difference. But I see now you're too indoctrinated, too committed to a broken system, too afraid to see the truth. Sarah's weapon cleared leather, pointed at Reeves' chest. You're under arrest. For murder, for terrorism, for conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent. Reeves laughed. Actually laughed. You think you can arrest me here now? Now you're alone, injured, exhausted. And I'm a trained killer with 20 years' experience. Who do you think wins this confrontation? The person with backup. Sarah touched her earpiece. Now, Webb. Nothing happened. Reeves smiled. Your team isn't coming. I disabled their vehicles 3 hours ago. Remote kill switches on the engines. They're stranded 5 miles away, running toward you, but they won't arrive in time. Sarah's heart hammered. She was alone. Truly alone. Reeves had planned for everything, anticipated every move. Then I kill you myself. You could try, but your shoulder is injured. Your dominant hand is compromised. Your reaction time is slowed by pain and exhaustion. I'd disarm you in 4 moves, kill you in 6. Reeves' voice was matter-of-fact, clinical. But I'm not going to kill you, Agent Chen. I'm going to let you live, because you're more useful alive than dead. How do you figure? Because you're a symbol now, the FBI agent who survived, who fought corruption, who took down the Blakes. You're a hero, and heroes are useful. They inspire people, they give hope, they make the system look like it's working. Reeves backed toward the stairs. I'm going to disappear again, rebuild my network, continue my work, and you're going to spend the rest of your career chasing me, never quite catching me, always one step behind. It's poetic, really. I'll find you. I'm counting on it. The chase is what makes this interesting. Reeves reached the stairs, started climbing. Goodbye, Agent Chen. I'll see you again, someday, when you least expect it, when you've almost forgotten I exist. I'll be there, watching, waiting, judging whether you've learned anything from this experience. He disappeared into the darkness. Sarah ran to the stairs, climbed. Her shoulder screamed. She ignored it, reached the 2nd floor. Empty, just broken windows and rusted machinery. Reeves was gone. She activated her radio. Webb, come in. Webb, respond. Static, then Webb's voice, panicked. Chen, we're coming. Vehicles are dead. Running your position. ETA 12 minutes. He's gone, disappeared. How did he know about the vehicles? I don't know, but we've got bigger problems. The courthouse bombing, forensics found something, the explosive signature matches CIA ordnance, specifically demolition charges used in covert operations. Webb was breathing hard. Running. Reeves didn't just steal them, he had access, official access, which means someone in the agency is helping him. Sarah's mind reeled. Reeves wasn't alone. He had support. From inside the intelligence community, from people who were supposed to be the good guys. How high does this go? We don't know yet, but Morrison's pulling records, looking at everyone who worked with Reeves, everyone who knew him, everyone who might have stayed loyal after his supposed death. Webb's voice cracked. Chen, this is bigger than we thought. Way bigger. We're not fighting one man. We're fighting an entire shadow network. Sarah walked to a broken window, looked out at the city. Lights twinkled in the darkness. Millions of people sleeping, working, living, none of them knowing what moved in the shadow, what predators wore badges and suits and positions of authority. Her phone buzzed. One last message. You performed admirably, better than I expected. You didn't join me, but you didn't kill me either. That shows wisdom, restraint. Perhaps there's hope for you yet. We'll speak again, Agent Chen, when the time is right, when you've seen enough failure of the system to understand my methods. Until then, keep fighting the good fight. Someone has to maintain the illusion. Architect. Sarah deleted the message. Put her phone away. Webb and the tactical team arrived 15 minutes later. Searched the mill. Found nothing. No evidence. No trace. Reeves had vanished like smoke. Morrison met them outside. We got a hit. Financial records. Reeves has been receiving payments from a CIA slush fund. Off-book operations, black budget stuff. Someone's been funding him for 8 years, paying him to do what we're not allowed to do, eliminate threats permanently. Who authorized it? That's the question. The payments are routed through so many cutouts we may never know. But there's a pattern. Every target Reeves eliminated was under active investigation, federal investigation. Someone's using him to clean up cases that are too complicated to prosecute, too politically sensitive to expose. Morrison's voice was hollow. We've been chasing a sanctioned operator. Someone our own government hired. Sarah felt the weight of it, the betrayal, the corruption that went all the way to the top. So what do? We keep fighting. We keep investigating. We expose what we can. We save who we can. And we hope that someday the system fixes itself. Morrison met Sarah's eyes. But that's a long game. Years, maybe decades. You ready for that fight? Sarah thought about the 19 women, about Jessica Martin, about Emma Rodriguez, about every victim who'd trusted the system and been failed by it, about her parents who'd wanted her to be a doctor but who'd been proud when she became an agent, about the oath she'd taken, to protect and serve, to defend the Constitution, to uphold the law even when the law seemed broken. Yeah, I'm ready. 3 months later, Sarah returned to Riverside Gardens. The glass house was exactly as she'd left it. Perfect, pristine, empty. She walked through the door, set down her bags, looked out at the neighborhood that had nearly killed her. Emma Rodriguez was sworn in as interim chief of police. Federal oversight was installed. Every officer was retested. Every case was reviewed. 23 officers were terminated. 57 cases were reopened. The families of 19 women finally got answers, got funerals, got closure. Judge Hammond died in prison. Heart attack, natural causes. The autopsy found nothing suspicious, but Sarah knew better. The architect was still cleaning house, still eliminating loose ends, still operating in the shadows. Mayor Stapleton pleaded guilty, accepted a 20-year sentence in exchange for testimony. He gave up names, dates, details. But every name led to another dead end. Every lead evaporated. The network protected itself. Always. Victor Reeves remained a ghost. Sightings were reported from 6 different countries. None confirmed. Sarah received one message a month. Always from a different number. Always the same signature. Still watching, still waiting, still judging, architect. She never responded. But she never deleted them either. They were reminders of what she was fighting, of what was at stake, of the long game she'd committed to. Morrison promoted her to special agent in charge, created a new task force dedicated to investigating shadow networks, off-book operations, sanctioned criminals. Sarah handpicked her team. Webb was her second. Emma was recruited as a liaison. Together they started pulling threads, following money, exposing corruption one case at a time. It was slow work, dangerous work. 3 agents were killed in the first year, 2 more disappeared. But they kept fighting, kept investigating, kept believing that eventually light would overcome darkness. Sarah stood on her balcony watching the sunset. Her shoulders still ached on cold days. Reminder of what she'd survived, what she'd lost, what she'd learned. The emerald silk dress was gone. Donated to evidence, stained with blood and history. She wore jeans now, comfortable, practical, ready to move. Her phone buzzed. Morrison. We got a lead. CIA whistleblower. Says he has proof of black budget operations. Says he can identify the people funding Reeves. Says he wants to trade information for protection. When can we meet him? Tonight. But Chen, be careful. This could be legitimate, or it could be bait. The architect testing us again. Let him test. I'm ready. Sarah checked her weapon, her vest, her gear. What's the whistleblower's name? Michael Torres, former Marine, former corrections officer, the same Torres who guarded Roberts the night he died. Sarah's blood went cold. It's a trap. Probably, but what if it's not? What if Torres is ready to talk, ready to expose everything? We can't ignore it. Then we don't ignore it. We prepare. We plan. We treat it like a hostile operation, and if the architect shows up, we're ready for him. Sarah headed for the door. Text me the location. I'm moving now. She drove through the city, lights blurred past. The radio played soft jazz. Normal people going about normal lives. None of them knowing what happened in the darkness. What sacrifices were made. What prices were paid. Sarah thought about her parents. About the conversation she'd had with them in her mind 1,000 times. I didn't become a doctor. I became someone who fights for people who can't fight for themselves. I hope that's enough. I hope that makes you proud. She imagined their response. Her father's gruff voice. Her mother's gentle hands. We're proud. We've always been proud. But stay safe, baby girl. Come home to us. I will, Dad. I promise. I'll come home. The meeting place was a diner. 24 hours. Chrome and neon. Torres sat in a back booth. Nervous. Sweating. He saw Sarah and stood. Agent Chen, thank you for coming. You said you have information. I do, about Reeves. About the network. About everything. Torres pulled out a flash drive. This has files, communications, financial records, everything you need to bring down the entire operation. Sarah didn't reach for it. Why now? Why help us after all this time? Because I'm dying. Cancer, 6 months maybe, and I don't want to die carrying these secrets. I want to die knowing I did one good thing, one honest thing. Torres pushed the drive across the table. This is my confession, my redemption. Take it, use it, stop them. Sarah picked up the drive. If this is legitimate, you'll be in protective custody within the hour. New identity, medical care, everything you need. I don't need protection. I need absolution. I need to know that the women I helped bury will get justice. Torres' eyes filled with tears. I was young. I was scared. They threatened my sister. I thought I didn't have a choice, but I did. I always did, and I chose wrong. Then help us choose right. Sarah pocketed the drive. Tell me everything. Names, locations, how the network operates, who gives orders, who funds operations, everything. Torres talked for 2 hours. Sarah recorded every word. Webb and a team surrounded the diner, watching, protecting, ready for anything. But nothing happened. No ambush, no explosion, no architect appearing from the shadows. When Torres finished, he looked exhausted. Empty. That's everything. All I know, all I saw. It's up to you now. Thank you. Sarah stood. You made the right choice, finally. It took time, but you got there. Torres smiled, sad, broken. Better late than never, right? Right. They walked him out to a waiting vehicle. Federal protection, witness relocation, a chance to die with a clean conscience. Torres climbed in. The vehicle pulled away, disappeared into traffic. Webb approached. The flash drive, is it real? Only one way to find out. Sarah handed it to him. But my gut says yes. Torres was too broken to lie, too tired to play games. He wants peace. This is his price. They returned to the safe house, plugged in the drive. The files were extensive, detailed, damning. Names of CIA officials, Pentagon liaisons, congressional staffers, all connected to black budget operations, all funding Reeves, all complicit in murder. Morrison reviewed everything, her face aged 10 years. In 10 minutes. This goes all the way to the top. Deputy directors, assistant secretaries, people who are supposed to be oversight. They're not just complicit, they're architects. They built this system, they maintain it, they protect it. Can we prosecute? Some. Maybe, if we're careful, if we build airtight cases, if we survive long enough to bring them to trial. Morrison closed the laptop. But most of them will skate. National security privilege, executive immunity. The system protects its own. Always has. Always will. Then we expose them publicly. Leak to journalists. Make it too big to bury. Sarah's voice was firm. We burn it all down. And lose our jobs, our careers, possibly our lives. You ready for that? Sarah thought for a moment. Thought about everything she'd survived. Everything she'd learned. Everything she'd become. Yeah, I'm ready. Because if we don't fight, who will? If we don't expose them, who does? If we give up now, then Blake wins. Harrison wins. The architect wins. And I'm not willing to let that happen. Morrison smiled, tired, proud. Then let's burn it down. They spent 3 weeks building the case, coordinating with journalists, arranging leaks, timing releases. The story broke on a Tuesday morning. Front page of every major paper, lead story on every news channel. Names, evidence, documentation, everything. The response was immediate. Congressional hearings, Inspector General investigations, special prosecutors. 3 CIA officials resigned. 5 Pentagon liaisons were suspended. Dozens of cases were opened. The system for once actually responded. But Reeves remained free. Still operating. Still watching. Still judging. Sarah received one final message the day the story broke. Impressive work. You've exposed the infrastructure, damaged the network, cost me resources and protection. Well played. But the game isn't over. It's just entering a new phase. I'll be in touch when the dust settles. Until then, enjoy your victory. You've earned it. But remember, Agent Chen victories are temporary. The fight is permanent. See you soon. Architect. Sarah deleted the message. Looked out her window at Riverside Gardens, at the neighborhood that had tried to break her, at the place where everything had started. She'd survived. She'd fought back. She'd won battles even if the war continued. Emma appeared at her door. They want us in Washington. Congressional testimony. They want to hear everything firsthand. When? Next week. Full committee, public hearing. It's going to be brutal. Good. Let them hear it. Let America hear it. Let everyone know what happens in the shadows. What price people pay for justice. Sarah grabbed her jacket. We're going to tell them everything. No holding back. No protecting anyone. The truth. The whole truth. Nothing but the truth. Even if it costs us everything. Especially if it costs us everything. Because that's what it means to fight. To actually fight. Not just play by rules designed to protect the powerful, but to break those rules when necessary. To sacrifice when required. To stand up even when standing means falling. Sarah met Emma's eyes. "You ready for that fight?" Emma straightened. "Yes, ma'am, I'm ready." They walked out together, into sunlight, into uncertainty, into a future where nothing was guaranteed except the fight itself. Sarah thought about the 19 women, about their families, about everyone who'd been failed by the system she'd sworn to serve. She'd made them a promise. Justice. Real justice. Permanent justice. Not the architect's version, not murder dressed up as righteousness, but accountability, truth. The hard work of building something better from the rubble of something broken. It would take years, maybe decades. Maybe it would never be finished. But that didn't matter. What mattered was the fight, the commitment, the refusal to quit even when quitting seemed rational. Sarah looked back at the glass house one last time, at the place where a woman in an emerald dress had been assaulted, arrested, nearly murdered, at the place where everything had changed, where she'd learned what she was really made of, where she'd discovered that surviving wasn't enough. You had to fight, every day, every case, every battle. She got in the car. Webb was driving. Emma rode shotgun. Morrison followed in a second vehicle. They headed toward Washington, toward testimony, toward consequences, toward whatever came next. Sarah's phone stayed silent. No messages from the architect. No threats, no games, just silence. But she knew he was out there, watching, planning, waiting for his next move. And when he made that move, she'd be ready, because that's what you did when you were FBI, when you were a fighter, when you refused to let evil win just because it was easier than fighting. You kept fighting, you kept investigating, you kept pushing forward even when the darkness seemed overwhelming. Because somewhere out there, another woman in another neighborhood was facing another corrupt cop, another predator with a badge, another system designed to protect the powerful instead of the powerless. And Sarah Chen, special agent in charge, survivor fighter, and believer in justice that actually meant something was going to be there to stop them. Not because it was easy, not because she'd be thanked, not because the system would reward her, but because it was right, because it mattered, because someone had to stand in the gap between what was and what should be. That someone was her, and she was done backing down.